and they wound up taking these individuals away. And so it kind of opened the door to going like, what is going on? I already knew it was happening, but I wasn't really covering it. I was covering just other things in the county. And so I feel like I've missed a lot of the things that have happened, but it's been just a whirlwind of uncovering just this border machine, because that's what it is. It's very well facilitated, organized, and funded, and it's across the world. It's so many people are involved, and I always tell people you could find out who's involved by looking at who isn't, because that's such a short list. And just NGOs from, it is the Catholic Charities and the Jewish Family Services, but then there's so many other entities that are involved in it that it's astronomical, and it's very sad to see, because this is the destruction of our nation. This is an invasion, and it's treason what they're doing. Everything that they're doing is they're traitors to the United States. In fact, I was just, and I don't want to take too much time, but I was just doing a SANDAG meeting, which was San Diego Association of Governments, and they're talking about the Otay Mesa port of entry. It's an East Otay Mesa port of entry. They want to spend $1.3 billion to bring this forward, and they need the Border Patrol to basically go in and ask the federal government for funding so that they can work this border. And it's like, at that point, you might as well have all these illegals go to that port of entry and have their own line, just like you do at the airport, because you have Border Patrol who can't even protect the border right now. They're being told to basically do everything opposite to what they were trained to do. And now you want to fund people coming legally, which all they think about is commerce. They want to do business with Mexico. They want to make sure that they have all of this revenue that's coming in, but they want to sit there and blatantly ignore the border invasion that is happening. And it's really sad. And that's why it's so important that we continue to cover it. So I just really appreciate you for having me here. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So, you know what, I want to ask you, if Fernando, if you can share with us one or few days when you go on the field, because not everybody had the chance to see your videos. I know how you're running around and trying to deal with those people who, you're getting beef from cops, you're getting beef from NGOs. They have issues with you. And I know that you were detained and arrested. So, for just doing simple journalists, being journalists. So can you share with us?
Yes, thank you. And we have a little syllabus of topics we're going to be discussing. The first item was, a little background of who each of us were, and why we became citizen journalists. So the second topic here is what is currently happening right now in all these different sectors of the border. As you know, we have California, Texas, and Mexico, New Mexico, and Arizona. So we're giving you, the audience, a good perspective of different areas. So currently, what's happening now here? Okay. So just to go back into history, when the Biden regime took over and they opened up the open door policies, we really, in my sector anyway, we really started seeing the invasion happening the summer of 2022, was when we first saw the first wave, okay? The summer of 2022 was when we saw the first major wave of illegals, okay? So, and then it slowed down for me anyway in my sector during the winter months, and then it picked up like a Hurricane 5 in 2023, and here we are now. So it goes in waves, and of course there's reasons for that, because if you look back, we had that stay in Mexico because of COVID, Title 42, and that was a major deterrent from illegals coming in. They were all waiting in the borders of Mexico. All the hotels rooms were full, et cetera, et cetera. And so once that expired, and then, the CBP-1 app was used for that excuse, was the CBP-1. We'll talk about that in a minute. For those who don't know what CBP-1, it's an application on your phone to illegally enter our country. And so the eye of the storm was really this last winter, of 2023, when I couldn't believe how many illegals were coming through San Antonio, over 1,000 a day, when the center only holds 700 people a day. And so currently, of course, you have to remember that in December, the Biden regime's party, his representatives went to Mexico in December, late December of 2023, and they sat down with the president of Mexico. And they had an agreement, because of the election coming up, The Biden regime wanted to look good for the voters, and they made a deal. In my opinion, they made a deal saying, okay, all the illegals that are coming in through Tapachula, which is South Mexico, I hear stories that they would bring them up and then bring them back down, through the trains and whatnot, through those court couriers. So. Uh, and of course, the Mexican president wanted $40 billion approximately, and he also wanted the Mexican nationals to get green cards or in that manner. So he made the demands to the Biden regime, and I would think that they accepted it because the regime is weak, as we can see what's happening all over the world. It's a weak administration, and so what I'm saying here is that it has slowed down at the American Replacement Center because it's an election year. How much has it slowed down? Well, it went from over capacity rates where they had to open up a secret hangar behind the airport that nobody knew about until I went there and I got arrested, but holding 300 illegals at a freaking hangar, that's not set up to people to live in. It went from that to right now it's about 30, 35, 40% occupancy, like a hotel room. 30% out, 30, 40% occupancy rate. They're still coming in the droves. But we'll let the other speakers talk about in California. It seems like they're getting the gist of all these illegals because they're getting 1,000 a day now in those sectors, over 1,000 a day. And of course, my sector, we're getting mostly Central and South Americans. 40% are from Venezuela, which has ties to Iran, which is the number one state of terrorism. And so I just wanted to let the new audience that don't not familiar with me that here in San Antonio, business as usual. It's open, and we're getting illegals here. We'll go into some of the NGOs in a minute. Like I said, we have a topic bullet point what we want to talk about. I'm gonna end the mic there and hand it to the next journalist and give me an update exactly what you're seeing here compared to 6 months ago. Okay, thank you.
Before we move in to your audio, can you everybody do me a favor, and if you can retreat the room, there is a little bubble on the right hand corner, and will be great if you can get more people so people get familiar what's actually happening at the border. I would appreciate you guys help. Thank you, and in advance. And Oreo, the floor is yours.
Okay, so obviously what we're seeing here in California is the cartels have moved a lot of their trafficking west. As Hernando was saying, Texas was really the major spot, and some parts of like Yuma, Arizona, and places like that. Um, in recent times, we are seeing now, as Hernando stated, we're getting up to 2,000 in a day here. Our San Diego sector is the number one sector for Chinese nationals. What we're seeing, and just to give you guys an idea, what we are seeing now in 2 days of the San Diego sector for Chinese nationals, 2 days worth is more than what we've seen in the entire fiscal year of 2021. So that's just 2 days. And these folks are mainly, when you talk to them, they are flying in to Mexico City, then sometimes flying up to TJ. And then at that point, they're paying a cartel there to get them to the locations on our southern border so that they can cross and be welcomed by Border Patrol and go to the facility. Now, there is like Hernando was talking about a little bit about the ARC. There is a lot of those facilities here in California. They're spread out. The one that Eyes of the Storm talked about, the school district down there, they ran out of money and shut down. Gosh, what was it? 6, 8 weeks ago. I could be off a week or two. And now the San Diego Board of Supervisors received $19.6 million from FEMA to have a long-term, what they call migrant center. And so they are still in the process as of this week, talking to the NGOs down there, finding where they're going to distribute that money to. And likely we'll see that elementary school or another facility is going to be opened up to aid and abet in this invasion. Comparative to where we were, we originally went down to Texas, the southern border in Texas in 2021, 4 months after Biden had taken office. There was not much illegal entry into California at that point. Now, when I say not much, there was hundreds a day, but we weren't talking thousands a day. They do it a little different, usually in California. A lot of times they use the rail system to come across undetected. Border Patrol's not aware of it. And these people that are involved on the other side, the coyotes and the cartels, they have a lot more information than we do. And they know when they're going to be checking the trains, when they're going to be checking certain areas, when Border Patrol checkpoints are going to be shut down. And it's amazing how much information. So when we traveled, we've been into multiple parts of Mexico. We went into Juarez, Mexico. But for the most part right now, it's incredible to see that we're getting 200 to 300 illegals from China each day that we wouldn't have seen that again 3 years ago, which should be a concern. China is not our friends. Many of these people that are coming over, and I'm not talking about all of them, but many of these people don't have the best intentions. Whether those intentions are, from my conversations, many of them love our welfare system and the fact that when they get here, they're going to have free housing, free schools for their children. These people are not coming to say, hey, I want to live the American dream. I want to pledge allegiance to that American flag. We've actually covered quite the opposite. When we were in El Paso, we had a group from Venezuela hold up the Venezuelan flag in downtown El Paso, and they sang a song. I don't know if it was one they made up, but when it was translating, they were making fun of Border Patrol for not being able to catch them. And they were confronted on the fact that they were in the United States waving a foreign flag. And some of them realized, hey, wait a second. And others were like, screw you, screw you. And so, and what we're seeing throughout the country is a lot of these people are placed on the Biden Mayorkas parole, which means we're not doing background checks on them. We're not doing any type of research to figure out, okay, are these people going to be placed in a community and are they going to be good for that community? What we're seeing is absolutely not. We've seen murders, we've seen sexual assaults, we've seen rape of children from people that are on the parole that Biden and Mayorkas put them on. Back to San Diego, when we were just there, again, you have Jacumba, you have multiple areas down there that the Mexican National Guard is actually on the other side of the wall. This also goes back to what Hernando stated when the Biden administration met with Mexico. It wasn't too long. We don't know what came out of that. We're not getting any truth, but it wasn't too long after that that they put these stations up in multiple areas, and which slowed down the traffic there. However, the cartel works very, very, very diligently to ensure that those people come across, because again, human trafficking is the number one business for our government here in the United States. DHS, the Department of Human Smugglers, they work hand in hand with the cartel, and you can obviously tell that when when Mayorkas goes down to somewhere in Texas and all of a sudden a day before the crossings completely stop, yet we're not enforcing anything different. Border Patrol's not doing anything different. Um, this is one of those things that, again, with these independent journalists that are on here, their videos go and show you this. Their videos show you it's live, or it's not edited, and we, again, California, when they come into California, the first thing they do is get free health care. We have a huge multi-billion-dollar deficit here. So I could see why a lot want to come into California now that they've passed some of these, quote, sanctuary health insurance policies. And we're seeing a lot here in California that we were not seeing just 6 months ago. So I'll pass it on to the next speaker.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Please repose the room if you can, and follow our speakers, follow our independent journalists. They doing this. They're running around the border on their own dime, and I know everybody is short under Biden economy. Better doesn't work for anybody these days. So you can support them by retweeting their stuff, sharing the videos, and commenting on the videos, and of course following them. And that will be great help for them to feel like they matter actually, and they're actually doing something for us and them for sure. I know that most of us who are here on X are not getting paid. We're not doing this for the clout, and we're doing because we want to freaking save this country from this communist regime that is like seeping through to every neighborhood. So you know what? So if you can repose the space, I'll be very appreciative. And I see hands. We're not going to take questions yet and have the speakers. We're going to let the journalists talk first, and then we move to questions and answers later on. So don't think that I'm ignoring you. I'm talking to the people who have their hands up. I'm not ignoring you. I see you. I just want to go let the journalists speak so they can share with us what's going on. Okay, Audrey, would you like to be next?
I would please, if I may. So thank you so much.
Ultra, I'm sorry,
So
not
I have
you,
an
not
idea.
you.
You Maggie,
Ultra, not you.
Ultra Maga. She was saying Audra.
Audra,
Me, yeah.
So if you
Audra,
could
Audrey.
just
Oh,
Audra.
give
We're
it a
going to let
oh,
the
Thank you.
journalists speak first.
I'm
Okay, no
sorry.
worries.
I'm sorry. My bad.
it's
My bad.
okay.
God
It's
bless.
okay.
Happy Mother's Day.
Well, then I
Just
wasn't
stay
sure if you were
patient,
calling me,
please.
right?
Sorry, I know
Uh,
Yes.
with my
no,
You
accent I
know what?
sound
no,
like
no,
the
no,
You
no.
know
It's
what?
not
Democratic
you. I'm just,
person.
yeah, no, it
If I
sounds
may
similar
again,
too.
if you have any information that you would like to put, this is for the journalists up in the nest. It's really easy to do. Anything you covered and have posted out, you hit the arrow up button on your post. It's all the way on the bottom right of your post at the very top. Instead of seeing, share, DM, or whatnot, you'll see the name of the space and it'll go right up into the nest. You could also copy the link and put it down in the purple pill. This way, everyone will see your post, be able to share it while we're in here and comment on it. Also, again, we are here taking information in from the journalists. So if you could just stay patient with us, they definitely will take your questions. Thank you. Go ahead, Audra.
Thank you. Again, my name sounds like many other things sometimes, so it's okay. Yeah, what's happening in San Diego is blatantly obvious, and there's definitely been an increase. The county of San Diego got not only the 19.6, but another 19.6 that's going to the Catholic Charities Diocese for the SSP, the Shelter and Services Program through FEMA. Last year, actually, FEMA gave the Catholic Charities, and I don't know why they are necessarily the main funder of those funds. That's something I'm looking into, but they got just under 75 million, the most out of the nation. In fact, there was $350 million through that FEMA program that was going on, and we got quite a large chunk of it. The other states and cities were getting very small amounts. So it's interesting to find that out. But the Catholic Charities actually filed for bankruptcy due to their sexual abuse allegations that they are engaged in, and they need to pay out their victims. So it's hard to find their information because it's hidden because of the bankruptcy. So I actually had to go to FEMA's website in order to find out where that money was going. And and it's like the Jewish Catholic charity, the Jewish Family Services and the Catholic Charities Diocese work together. They're enmeshed in what they're doing, but there's so many other entities across the county and across the world. Like I was saying, there's just, anytime I'm looking for a branch of things, it's like it branches me out into 50 other entities that are also facilitating it. And with the migrant transfer center that I wound up finding, so I just wanted to tell you this, Oreo. So they're not going to use that place again, because right now they're building affordable housing for veterans and whatnot, just right on the outsides of it, on both sides of it. And so they took down the fence, the mesh fence and everything around that school. So they're going to be using another facility. So it's a wonder where that will be. But again, all you have to do really is follow a bus to figure out where they're going, because they have so many operations that they're engaged in, and they're engaging in so many different contracts, that it's like, oh my gosh, you really have to look. And I even asked for information from the county, as far as like, show me where you spent this $6 million. What did you do with it? Who did you engage with? And once you do that, it's like, you should be able to have your contracts lickety split. Like, so I can just say, okay, this is what this was for. These are the contracts we engaged in. And it's easy to share that information. But when you want to hide it, you have to go, well, oh my gosh, this could pull up thousands of documents. And we're just really, not like, if you could narrow your search, it would help us to give you this information. And so, I'm telling them, well, at that point, just give me what you have. And then as we go, you can give me kind of a summary. But what they do is because they call us xenophobic. If we want to stop this, they say nobody's illegal. In fact, when I found the migrant center and went to one of the council members in the city of San Diego, which is where that location is, during the homeless point in time count, because he was also going out and counting, he totally was sitting there and having a different conversation than I was. I'm asking him about this center. I came across it. It's at Central Elementary. I don't know what's going on. He knew. And he's like, well, yeah, what we were doing today is counting the homeless. And I wound up speaking to this woman, and, she was telling me this and that. And I'm thinking, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm asking you about what I'm asking you about. And I said, that's the problem, is that anytime you guys are confronted with some real information or being prompted to just provide it, because if you can't be transparent, then there's something going wrong. And that is what I found across the board for all of these locations that you go to. They want to take your picture. They want to put on a mask. They want to act like you're doing something wrong by being transparent with the people and bringing them the information that the mainstream media won't tell. Because what the mainstream media will tell you is that these people aren't being taken care of, that, this is a humanitarian crisis, all while they are being very well taken care of in hotels with food, clothing, shelter, transportation, money, and tickets if need be. And we have the homeless who are suffering, who get put on a list that maybe they'll get into a shelter, maybe they won't. They'll get arrested for being in an encampment. And so it's really sad to see that when the government wants something to work, it works very well. When they don't want it to work well, it doesn't. And there's so many cuts happening across San Diego. The state of California is in like a $64 billion deficit, 63 or 60, whatever. And there's all these cuts being made across the board. And all you see with this invasion is that more money just keeps getting thrown at it. And they're so threatened by us being in these places when we're just, recording what's going on, giving you the data and the information that you need to see so that you can see where your money's going. But anytime you ask about it, they want to shut you up and call you xenophobic and act like you're racist, and that we have to have these open borders. And just like I was talking about before with the Sandag and them talking about the port of entry, it's like there's such a disconnect between these officials and what's reality. But that's how you can see that it's so well organized. And what they do, even with the place that you had found, Oreo, and I really appreciate you doing that. It's a Jewish Family Services run plot of land that the state of California wound up giving to the Jewish Family Services because it was going to be surplus land. So they actually have to go through legislation to make sure that this land can be given to whoever, like that, whether or not they lease it or sell it, and it has to be in the best interest of the state. So all of these locations in San Diego, like the hotels and the centers, have been going on since 2021. But even before that, in 2018, 2017, 2018, which means it was happening before that. That's just when it got brought to legislation. They were looking at this property. It's a California Highway Patrol property that was actually a border protection division, which is kind of hilarious, that they were needing to move to a different area. And so in order for them to dictate what was happening with the land, they needed to go through the state and the governor and legislation in order to bring an assembly bill forward so that they could lease or do whatever with this property. And when they were doing that, they said, well, if the city of San Diego wants to use it for affordable housing, we'll go ahead and let them use it for that. We're going to give them 120 days and they can see whether or not they want to use it for that. Well, if you think about it, this place is never going to be a place where they would put affordable housing. They could have put a homeless shelter just because it's a nice plot of land. I mean, it would be a good place to house these people just for however long needed to be. But they're, you know, everything is a business. So it's like you can't stop the problems from happening because you don't get money that continues to come in. So when the state was doing this, the city, you know, obviously is going to say they don't want to put it there. Then all of a sudden they can say, well, then we put it up for the public to come in and bid on it. And then the Jewish Family Services wrapped that up and they were using it for the migrants is what they call it. And it's like, and saying that that's in the best interest of the state. How can you say that's in the best interest of the state when in fact you're going against the nation and engaging in treason, aiding and abetting human trafficking and the destruction of our nation? You can't do that. But that's what these people do. And then you have people in Congress like with the Jewish Family Services and Sarah Jacobs and her family is the philanthropist that, you know, basically owned the Jewish Family Services and many other things like UCSD where they're having those protests with Palestine. And so when you have people that are in conflicts of interest lobbying for the money, like the $39 million that came to San Diego just recently, that's a problem because it's going into the people that your family are engaged with. And you guys all have this plan. So it goes out so much deeper. I mean, it goes up to the Vatican and the Rothschilds, right? All the way to the people in Congress and all of their families that they have, you know, different NGOs that they're engaging with. So they're getting the money to go to them. Right. And all while they're saying that this is like a humanitarian crisis. Well, these people are being exploited when they're coming across, because I have found that many of them say that that they're here for the American dream. And I have to sit there and tell them that you've been sold a lie, that you're being exploited because what you think is the American dream doesn't exist. And if we all stayed in our countries and fought for what we believed in, we wouldn't be going to all these other places and believing that we can get it there. Right. So as long as you're sold this lie and you believe that you're going to get everything under the sun, I mean, you'll meet some that they'll have just been waiting for 3 hours and they're like, oh my gosh, what's going on? We're not getting it as soon as we should. And that's the problem is that when all of these people are in here and now they're starting to demand for stuff, we don't even have people in our own communities demanding for the same thing. And one more thing before I wrap up, you know, there was a storm in San Diego recently in January, which was a manufactured storm through cloud seeding, and a bunch of people lost stuff. And at one of the meetings that I was at for the Board of Supervisors, when they were talking about, and that's the thing, so they'll talk about what they can give the community, and it'll be like, should we give them 1, 2, or 3 meals a day? Should we give them hotels time for this because they lost everything in the storm? Whereas, I mean, these illegals come across, they're not questioning whether they're getting 3 meals a day. Restaurants are providing it. People in the community are suffering because the restaurants are taking away from their employees being able to work because they're shutting down the business and making the meals for these people because they have billion-dollar contracts or million-dollar contracts with the government that is allowing them to do this. So it's taking away from their employees. And when their employees ask them about it, they're like, what's it to you? Right. So it's like everything about this is making the community suffer. And so when now I just forgot what I was going to say. I go off on these tangents and then but I mean, basically, you know, it's just that it's our money going to it. You don't have a say in it. And that's what's so sad. And that's what, oh, the storms. I'm sorry. I had to, okay. So the people with the storm were coming in and I was trying to tell them, you know, all of these illegals are getting all of this stuff. They don't have to worry about 1, 2, or 3 meals a day. They don't have to worry about getting out of their hotel. But you guys are coming in and you beg and plead to the officials, asking them to just give you a few more weeks in the hotels because you've lost everything. And when I was talking to them, these several individuals were saying, well, this isn't about the illegals. And I'm thinking like, I don't understand what's going on here. So we went out in the hallway and had a conversation. They told me that I was attacking the illegals. And I said, no, I'm trying to say that at least you deserve just as much. And when I said that, they let me be known that many of the people that lost everything in the storm are illegals, and they can't come forward because they aren't documented, and so they're not able to get what they need. So I'm like, well, what do you do with that? Because I'm trying to fight for you on one hand in the community, but then on the other hand, you're telling me that you brought 7 people over that are part of your family, and so it's like a conflict right there. And so there are people in the community that are illegals that are still trying to fight for those same things. And that's where I'm finding just this disconnect of people understanding that this is an invasion, this is to intentionally destroy our nation. But when you have people that are engaged in that, like, how do you get them to come along? So it's really difficult, but yeah.
This is a killer, unfortunately. So RGV Truth, would you like to share with us?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'd also like to give a shout out to Sarah Fields and Ashley here. I started working with Sarah over a year ago when I was exposing a kids drag show down here in South Texas, and she was just such a big help. And she really helped, save a lot of kids from some really bad stuff. And also Ashley, which I'd like to congratulate. She's now part of a anti-trafficking task force. So woohoo, that's freaking awesome. She's another good friend. She's been a great reference and someone I can get a lot of info about, how trafficking works. And again, being from the Valley, I moved here. So RGV Truth, Rio Grande Valley Truth. Rio Grande Valley is the southern part of Texas, McAllen, Brownsville, Roma, all those areas. And this is a very insular community. It took me several years to really understand the flow of the valley and how to be down here, because a lot of journalists come down here and think they can in a couple of days expose this or that, and it just doesn't work like that. You really need to know the vernacular of the area and know how to kind of blend in, because it doesn't matter who you are. If you're not from the valley, you'll stick out like a sore thumb. But anyway, so what's happening on the border down here? I've been mainly over in Brownsville area recently. I did a lot of the going out and on the border and watching people cross and all the border patrol activity. But after you do that for a while, it's like, okay, you're getting a lot of the same stories. So let's follow the breadcrumbs to other places. And where I've been going is into Mexico quite a bit, and I have just been talking with people. I recently I kind of took a new direction in things. I got rid of all my narratives, and I just wanted to kind of just kind of sit in an area and be part of it, and just see what it's like and talk to people. And so I did that. I'm talking to a lot of the illegals, or they call them migrantes down there. When you're talking to them, you call them an illegal. They're not really going to tell you much, so you use the parlance of the area. However, on that same hand, that's part of the information war, softening language. So you have to remember these are illegal immigrants. But just like what the Storm was saying, I completely agree. These people have been duped. The people that are pulling the strings, those are the really bad guys. And there's a lot of bad guys in the mix as well. There's a lot of criminals and people here to do bad things. But I do a lot of interviews with people. I was recently interviewing a girl who's from the Mexican border town, and she escaped the brothels. She was trying to duck her boyfriend, who was a member of the criminal elements in that border town, who was sticking her in a brothel. And she said she was 18, but I believe she was younger. And it was just heartbreaking to hear her story. She has no family, no nothing, and she was trying to seek asylum. And you're seeing a lot more Mexicans applying for asylum. But anyways, so what I'm seeing in especially in like the Brownsville, Matamoros area is a lot of CBP1 crossing, hundreds a day, hundreds and hundreds a day. That's the main mode that I'm seeing now. I've met a lot of very interesting people from all over the world. I met these Venezuelan guys. They were telling me they were living in this old abandoned place. I asked, "Hey, can I come over?" And they said, "Sure." And they treated me like family. A lot of these people that I'll sit down and talk with, or buy them lunch. They haven't eaten meat in days or weeks. Yet, when a plate of food gets put in front of them, they won't touch it till everybody has a plate. So you get to see some really. It's a very humbling thing. You get to see people that haven't had the same psyops that they've had in America. Because what's happening in the United States right now, they want everybody fighting, and they want the illegals. They want animosity between the illegals and American citizens. And I'm not saying that I have like a direct path of victory for this, but I just know that the more hate that's out there, the more the globalists win. So I'm coming from a place of love and just trying to understand everything, because when you can understand and these people open up to you, you get the information that's helpful to everybody. Also, that information is helpful to people in the source countries like Venezuela. The biggest thing I'm seeing is, this is I look at it just like any kind of trafficking thing, like a pimp with a girl he's trying to break. The journey breaks you. If you don't have the money to fly in or anything like that, if you're going through the Darien Gap and everything else, you might have had to kill somebody to defend yourself. You might have been sexually assaulted. You might have to eat out of a trash can, or who knows what. So you're not the same person you were when you left your country. You don't have the same dignity, and you start becoming, you get into survival mode. You're not eating regularly, just things are crazy. So from there, you get to Mexican border, and people think, okay, I'm just going to cross. Well, if you don't have the money, you might get killed or kidnapped, or you just might get kidnapped just in general. Everybody sees these people as piggy banks, including the NGOs. It's really sad, but the big thing is nobody seems to plan for the 6 months waiting in Mexico, and that's when people get sucked into brothels, criminal. They start doing, they start doing coyote work and crossing people to make some money, whatever it might be. So it's just say like, so what I'm seeing with the NGOs on the lower levels, those are people that really want to just help people. And they don't really understand the bigger picture. And I'm not saying that's an excuse, but you have to have good, and not everybody in an NGO can be bad, or else it would be easy to go, okay, they're bad, cut them off, or we got to get rid of them. You have to have that mixed bag of things. There has to be that, just like Catholic Charities, you got volunteers that come in who just want to help, and you have missionaries that just want to pray with people. And we have to remember, just like in the government, it's the people at the top. Those are the bad ones. There's a thing called human osmotic pressure, HOP. So you have people like Maduro who make bad policies, who run their country in the ground with communism. And then you have people like Biden who reward the bad behaviors of illegally crossing the border and coming in. They're called globalists for a reason. This is all planned out the whole way. And the NGOs see all these people as piggy banks, and just like privatized prisons, the more people you have, the more bunks you can fill, the more reimbursements you get, and it's there's no humanity in it. There's no humanity in what I've been trying to do lately is bring a human face to this and let these people tell their stories, because they really don't have a voice. Even though there's a lot of advocacy for them, it's advocacy for these NGOs to get money. If you listen to these people's stories, no person in the right mind would want them to take this journey. Hey, go through the Darien Gap. Hey, jump on a train. I talked to this one woman from Ecuador named Mercedes, and she left after the gangs took over Ecuador. There was that thing on live television where they taped dynamite to that guy's chest during a newscast and everything. The gangs basically took over the country for a while, and she fled after that. And pretty much every country she went to, she was robbed or something happened. Kidnapped in Tapachula, La Bestia fell off the train, which is she's extremely lucky to even be alive after something like that. So, yeah, I just think that we need to show the human side of this, and that it's not good for anybody. In the end, it's not good for anybody. I don't really know what these people in government think they're going to be able to survive the gulags, because they're going to go too. It's not going to be the same. So I'll hand it over to the next person.
This is truly heartbreaking. Yes, we always think about, the illegals. And trust me, as an immigrant, I do understand how difficult it is to come to a new country and you don't speak the language and people pushing you around from right to left. But yes, and maybe a lot of us got bad pictures of, those migrants from, especially from New York and maybe Chicago or some parts of California, where committing crimes, beating up on cops. So we don't take maybe this picture took over the entire, this entire mass migration, and a lot of us are being negative, and but everything is by design. Those people are being used, and our money is being used to facilitate this. So it's lose-lose for everybody, unfortunately, not for the globalists, not for the NGOs, not for our government and their lobbyists. So, and you know what, and like you mentioned, yes, there's great people everywhere. You find them everywhere. They will be great migrants because I met them through years in New York City. They wonderful people. They will give you the last shirt, and then you get, these people that you think that they're good people are coming from charities, Catholic charities or Jewish charities, turn out to be complete pieces of shit that they want to use you and abuse you, so, and take advantage of you. So with that, I would hand the mic to Hernando so he can follow
Thank you.
with more of discussion.
Thank you. Thank you, Mimi. And please, if all the listeners, be patient. We're almost done with our talking points here. If you could please like and share this here. We have over 200 people watching. There really should be over 200,000 people watching this, because this is we're talking about national security issue with four of the top independent journalists out there that are out there every day. So the next thing on the topic here was to talk about the NGOs and the law enforcement in these areas. And I know a lot of you journalists already touched on NGOs, but I want to just give my audience, people who are not familiar with myself, what's happening here in South San Antonio, which is 2 hours from the border, guys. I'm 2 hours from the border. I am where, once these illegals have been processed by Custom Border Patrol and DHS, ICE, they are shipped by these NGOs for $50 to $80 per bus ticket. They don't get shipped here for free. These illegals have to pay $50 to $80 to get on a seat to come to San Antonio, and they do that with the coach buses that sits 56 passengers, or those famous white vans that sits 16 passengers. Sometimes you'll even see NGOs using their own private vehicles, bringing in illegals. And every time I see a white van, I have to take a double look and see if they're illegal. So I've been psychologically damaged by this invasion, and I don't say that lightly. There are we're taking bullets here, mentally as well. You're there every other day. I am anyway, and it takes a little bit out of you, man. And so the NGOs, okay, topic. Uh, and I see some very familiar names here. So I just want to say hello. You know who you are. We'll get you the mic once we finish here. And thank you for joining us. I know you keep doing other things on a Friday night. The top three NGOs in San Antonio at the American Replacement Center. Number one, Endeavors with an E. Endeavors Home is their mothership. They are one of the largest in the world, in the country. Uh, Shout out to James O'Keefe. He did an expose with one of the executive officers about 2 or 3 years ago. It's on YouTube. Just Google Endeavors. The guy was an attorney. He used to work for DHS as a judge or some sort, a lawyer, and then he got a cushion job with Endeavors. I just posted, like, I think yesterday, how Endeavors has a expense uh, budget of something with HHS for the last 3 years for $4 billion. Think about that. One NGO who's responsible for a lot of those children camps, and I'm just not get ahead of myself. There are over 50. How many? There are over 200 camps in this country holding children, anywhere from 5 children to 2,000 children. Children is as young as 6 months to 17 years old. Majority of them from Guatemala for some reason. I don't know. But Endeavors has a major camp in Pecos, Texas. And I think Ryan Mata did some coverage there, if I'm correct. But it is huge. And so $4 billion in 2 counties, Bexar County, which is San Antonio, and the other county being Reeves County, where Pico, Texas is. Pecos is a small town. There's nothing there. It's like 12,000 people, population. So Endeavors has a bad reputation, and that's why they're hiding. From what I'm seeing from the investigating I've done, they're very tricky to get a hold of in terms of the finances, because believe it or not, they're funding the money funneled to, I believe, Endeavors is coming through uh, another organization, United Way. Yes, the United Way, the Boys Club of America. The Girls Club of America. Who would have thought that United Way is part of of these NGOs that are sucking on a tit of the government with your tax dollars? So, the second one, and by the way, the CEO of Endeavors, who I made public enemy number one here at the ARC, his name is Fulham. Chip Fulham. Forum, something like that. Anyway, he makes $700,000 a year. All right, on a 8-hour work day, a 40-hour work week. 700,000. That's just one executive. By the way, he was the third in line in DHS. I forgot what department he worked in. And it's in he's proud of it. He puts it in his bio on the website of Endeavors. It's right there, unless he took it down because we're exposing him, you know. And so that's just one NGO. So second one, Catholic Charities of San Antonio. Now, contrary to what a lot of people say, oh, Catholic Charities, they're just using the name. They have no connection to the Catholic Church. That's a lie, because every board, and there's many chapters of these charities, every board has an archbishop on that board. So don't come telling me, I get these messages that has nothing to do with Catholics. And I'm a Catholic, and I'm ashamed to be a Catholic. By the way, the last time I went to Catholic church was during the 2020 campaign of the Trump. I went there with a Trump hat and and no mask to go to service, and they threw me out of my church. Well, that's the last time I went, was November of 2020. So check that shit out. So Catholic Charities, over the last 10, 13 years, thanks to another journalist that helped me out, 17th, they've been given over $4 billion since 2011. Over $4 billion, Catholic Charities, the mothership, the main Catholic Charities, over $4 billion. The one here in San Antonio, thanks to your generosity, taxpayers, and thanks to the majority rep, Mike Johnson, who just approved the last month $700 million for NGOs to continue this invasion. The Catholic Charities of San Antonio has just got granted $36 million, kind of close to what's her name? Excuse me. Iowa Storm said that the Catholic Charities got approximately the same amount of money. So there's a lot of similarities here. That's why we're doing this here podcast here. So, and the city of San Antonio got 3 million. And Endeavors is hiding their funds through United Way and also the food banks. Food banks, like Iona Storm said, they're using food banks, for God's sakes. And San Antonio food banks, they got into tens of millions of dollars. I'm gonna do a post on them this week because I've been dropping the ball with that. United Way and the San Antonio Food Bank, which is supposed to be used for veterans, homeless people, and people with low income. And here we are. These illegals are getting 3 meals a day, coffee, change of bed sheets every other day, Wi-Fi, teachers. They got a university in the American Replacement Center. They got psychologists there. They have nuns there. They have transportation services. It goes on and on. So, and the last one I wanted to mention on the NGOs is one that's just granted $500,000 thanks to your generosity, is the Interfaith Welcome Coalition. Interfaith Welcome Coalition, they're the ones that are they're just basically greeters, right? Everyone has a role. All these NGOs have different roles, but the interfaith, they're just greeters at the Greyhound bus terminals, and they're greeters at the airport, and they're greeters at the centers. They're mostly volunteers, senior citizens, and they're also part of the problem. So those are the NGOs. The police, I'll just finish off with the police. San Antonio, and I think my ARC is the only replacement center that has actually police manning the gate. I think the other centers in California, tell me if I'm wrong, Oreo, but those are manned by third-party private vendors. But they have the audacity, the city of San Antonio, Mayor Nuremberg who's a Marxist, has the audacity to post San Antonio off duty, but in uniform, getting paid time and a half. So they're getting paid lovely, and they're under the direction of the church, Catholic Charities. They're under that because the Catholic Charities are paying them as a vendor, a subcontractor, more like. And so, and they're the ones that give me a hassle every time I'm there. You know, they want to arrest me, they want to tow my car, they want to give me a hard time for jaywalking when I'm doing my interviews. They've interrupted my interviews. Everybody knows, don't know, I was arrested at the airport back in November for filming illegals coming off a bus at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was shackled for 26 hours. My feet, I was processed. Thank God that case was dismissed for lack of evidence. And so this is what I'm dealing with. All right. So just to recap here, that's I'll hand off the mic. I'm sorry, I got distracted for a moment. I'm gonna hand off the mic. I'll land the ship there, and thank you for listening.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say hello. Thank you, Meme, for having me. G for having me. I would love if everybody could please retweet the space, actually like and retweet the space. And in fact, if you could quote and retweet the space. The reason why is that if you do this, what happens is the viewing list goes down on the bottom. So we want to bring this space right back up to the top so everybody actually can see it and get these numbers up. I'm so honored to be around such knowledgeable guest speakers, and we're so lucky they're giving us this information, questions that we want answers, and it's just phenomenal. So thank you so much. Go ahead.
Audra, would you like to go next? I don't know if Audra can hear me. Can you guys hear me, actually?
I
I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, Audra, my dear. It's you. Maybe I should call you I.
I don't know. I know it keeps going mute. It's like I pushed on mute, and then it went back to mute. I don't know what's happening. Um, but yeah, the NGOs, it's pretty crazy because like all you have to do really is look into where your county or your city is and just start pulling up but you have to use their trigger words. You can't put illegal. You have to put migrant or immigrant and any kind of help that they get. And it will bring to you a plethora of information because the county of San Diego, I mean, just the Jewish Family Services has a San Diego Rapid Response Network, which then also engages with many other of these entities. And there's even a San Diego Foundation that has like 50 cohorts under it that will donate it, so they spread the money out this way. So it's like it's really hard to follow it unless you follow all of these different entities, and they've been in here for a long time because this has been something where they, like, before it was just for migrants, right? Like if people are just people who cross legally, but now they're using the same entities and people are creating more to do it for the invasion. And again, with the Catholic Charities, like you were saying, Hernando, like that goes all the way up to the Vatican and the Pope because they have these. And I need to look it up, but it's for this. They want to have all their bishops implement the migrant or immigrant type of program to bring it in. So they're making them all do it basically, and they have programs to have them all engage in it. And but even and they have all their securities and different things, but even the entities will have their own security within that, and they'll engage with sheriffs and different people who are no longer a sheriff but maybe were before or were some kind of law enforcement officer to come in and help them. But in San Diego, as far as like the hotels go and then different centers, so like the Ramada Hotel has Eagles Point security and they're local, but also is ASC, so Advanced Security. I can't think of the name right now. Shoot, I'll look it up. But so it's ASC, and they're also at the 4902 shelter that Oreo was at the other day, and then we also covered as well. So they are engaging in these same like entities that are doing that, and basically they're trying to keep the people at bay because as soon as you are there and you're in front of it, the whole operation gets messed up because they'll sit there and they'll say like, okay, well, don't have the bus come or don't fill the bus now. Been outside the Sheraton off of Greenwood Street in San Diego, which is really close to the highway patrol that they have now leased to Jewish Family Services for this shelter. And They sit there and they want to, like, there was a bus going in that they were going to fill with these illegals. And when they're doing that, it's like when you're there, they don't want, they let the bus go in, but then they just sit there. And it's like, if you don't have anything to worry about, if you're not doing something wrong, why is your operation stopping just because someone's viewing it? Right? It should continue to go on no matter what. But they don't want people to see it. And it's at that point I'm thinking, well, we already know your entire operation. I know where you keep your buses. I know the routes that you take. I know like at what times. I know that you had, one of your contracts taken from this bus. It's Damaris Express Inc., which is a woman-owned company that they have in San Diego. They were already doing, transport from Mexico into the United States and like to LA and to Vegas and different things. So it was a perfect company to do that with, but also the company doesn't have like a good rating. They get the people that they know will capitulate with whatever they're doing and will sit there. And if you see them, they're sitting there taking pictures of you and I'm just waving because it's like, I'm not worried about what I'm doing. I know I'm just giving the information to the people, but you guys are worried. And so when we were following the bus into past the gate at the Sheridan, it took them a little bit. We were pretending to leave, and then they wound up like bringing the people out. I mean, it was literally a second. I walked away from the gate, and all of a sudden they're bringing the people into the bus because if you think about it, these people have a plane to catch, so they can only wait for so long before they have to actually continue on with their pursuit of getting these people to where they need to go. So as soon as they do that, we follow them to the airport. I get out and I'm following them to the gate where basically they have concierge service. So these NGOs, not only do they help them, at the Iris Transit where they're just getting off, and before they were able to take this charter bus to another transit center, which was ridiculous because it's like they have all these contracts, whether it be from the hotels to the airport or from the processing center to the hotels, then to the airport. But they don't go like the processing center. They take DHS buses to the Iris Transit. But what they were doing is having the charter bus pick them up from Iris Transit and go just up north a little bit to Old Town. And they wound up losing that contract because it was a bunch of money spent for when they can actually ride the transit at that Iris Transit Center for free. We can't do that, but they can. They can go in. They don't need a ticket. They just go up to the Old Town Transit and they get on the shuttle to the airport. Well, if you have this charter bus that's bringing you, the NGO will come from the hotel. They have different folders that they give them in a different process. So whether you're from the Sheridan or the Ramada, like the Ramada, they have red folders. They'll go in, and the other one, it's like just a different kind of folder. It's not the same, but very similar. And they literally walk you up to security and make sure that you can get through to the gate. And it's like, how can you have this concierge service? Like, and there's some people that are just being dropped off and they don't really know where to go. So they're sitting at the transit center. There's a bunch of the taxi cabs there, just waiting for them, which that's another weird thing because they seem like they're just waiting there for long periods of time. I don't know if they feel that they're going to get a good amount of money just from one ride, but literally because they have to go in line. They can't just like skip the person. Whoever's there next will get the ride. But I mean, there'll be like 20 cabs there just waiting for people to go. And it's like they're more taking the public transit at this point or having like an Uber come. But it's interesting just to see how well it's organized. There's always somebody across the board. You even have kids that are in college that are working with their professors to go and then do this kind of work. I've met them back at the Old Town Center, and there was about 3 girls that were doing it with their professor to go out and just help the people. So you have a lot of people that are not in it for the nefarious reasons. It's more the higher echelons of those entities that are the ones that are doing what's nefarious, and then they kind of exploit or use the people that want to do good in order to push whatever they need to. But in the process, they're also screwing their employees, right? So it is a very convoluted web of just corruption. And this is a way for them to launder their money, to hide it in so many places. Because if you have so many of these organizations involved in it, it's like that makes it so much harder to follow out like where the money is going and whose hands it's going into. But once you start looking at how much these like CEOs and whatnot are getting paid from these NGOs, oh my gosh. Just the San Diego Foundation, actually, Not that necessarily their CEOs, but their assets are over $1 billion and rising. So how do you have all these assets, right? When like, because you can get the money, you can hide it, and you can just start like accumulating stuff. It doesn't mean that you have to fix the problem. You're just there to pretend that you're doing it, when in reality, you're just helping facilitate more of it, putting money into the pockets of all these different people. And that's where you just have to start to follow the money and wonder, we're paying to facilitate this. We're the ones that are, it's off the backs of the people that are working so hard, that are suffering in the communities, that don't have the same thing. And that's what should make them mad. Even just like going to the airport, and if you can't fly without an ID, but they can, right? It's like all of these things that we're exposing are starting to make people pissed off and want to know why that's happening and more. So the more that we uncover it, I just think it's fantastic, because, we don't need the mainstream media to sit here and lie to us. But like, we are the news. We're the ones that are going to be bringing all the truth to the people. And that's why it's so important that we continue to do so. And we're not afraid to do it. Like, I know that I have God on my side, and I'm not afraid of whatever happens. I just know that the truth needs to come out at all costs, because otherwise we don't know how to navigate this world that we're in, and we're perpetually being lied to across the board, especially the people. Whenever you try and just talk to them about what's happening, they want to act like you're crazy, and that's not reality. So it's this dystopian like reality that we're living in, and it's so important that we speak the truth and continue to expose it, because otherwise who will, right? And as long as we counteract the evil, like if we let what they say stays, then that's the reality. But now we're pushing back and we're bringing light, and the darkness trembles when we do that. So it's like, we just got to keep going. So let's go, you guys.
Thank you, Audra. Taylor, mic is yours, my dear. Please retreat the space. I know that I'm being repetitive, but this is the only way we can expose everything and share what's happening. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by and keeping very nice and civilized the space.
I mean, if I
And,
could
you know,
add something to the speakers again. First of all, we also have um, Wade here. He's Wade Lyman. He's from Border Hawk News. I'm going to be sending him a mic to add to the discussion as well. Also, I just would like to repeat, if any of the guests on the panel have anything to share that we can push out, just put it up in the nest, little arrow down at the bottom of your post. If you look all the way up top, when you see DM and whatnot, the space title is there. You could just drop it. It goes, tap it. It goes straight to the nest. You could also copy it and put it in the pill. This way, everyone in here can share what you're putting out and get reach. If you like what you're hearing, this is a great panel. I think everyone should at least follow them, because what is going on and what they're sharing, it is imperative that everyone learns this. And when you see what they're putting out, you could share it on here and outside just by going on your phone. So I would appreciate it if you all follow these people, because they're doing us a service. Thanks.
Taylor, the mic is yours, my dear.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, so I just retweeted the space. I'm not the best with spaces. So what's our topic now? What are we going to talk about?
No, about NGOs. We were talking about
Okay,
NGOs.
NGOs. Oh boy. Well, I think one of the very first videos I put out was a very I was channeling Alex Jones at the time. It was a lot of fun. There was a border conference by Futuro. I think it's Futuro something. Anyways, they just put together a conference. It was the mayor of McAllen. It was Chuy Hinojosa, who's the state senator down here, who's been, he's in on this whole thing big time. He's a quote unquote Democrat. I mean, I don't like left, right, or any of these things. Democrat, Republican doesn't really seem to be fitting anymore. It's either you've got pro Americans and commies. That's about all there is. So he's a commie, and he's got a good commie friend, Sister Norma Pimentel. And the big thing that they always try to do is they want the scapegoat of the nameless, faceless criminal elements. The traffickers, the coyotes. Those are the bad people. We just receive the people when they come in. We're just making the millions of dollars that goes right back to those people in so many different ways. So I was sitting there listening to that, and I just went in the room, pointing the finger at her, and said, the traffickers are right here. You're the trafficker. You're the one doing this." And I've been Catholic Charities RGV. I've been there just a million times um, over the years. I recently, what was it? Well, early in the year, I was able to ask a few questions to Norma Pimental, which is very rare to do. I think the only other person I've seen ask her questions is Ollie Bradley through an interview. If you guys haven't seen that interview, it's really amazing. I'll see if I can drop a clip of it in the like a YouTube clip in there, because she asked some pretty hard hitting questions. But so I went to this MLK Day event at a local theater here, and it wasn't like a bum rush. I wasn't trying to do a gotcha video. I just asked Norma Pimental, hey, a lot of kids go through your Catholic Charities RGV Respite Center, and there's 85,000 kids missing. You get a lot of money from DHS. DHS is reporting that there's all these kids missing. With all this money you're getting, what are you doing to help find the kids that are lost? And what are you doing to prevent any more kids from getting lost? I thought it was a very, it's not a gotcha question at all. I think it's a very good question to ask. Do you have any programs? Are you training people? And she said, nope, I don't like to get involved in that. I just hope that they're with their family. Okay, well, that's just ridiculous. And, I asked her that, and I kept to myself for the rest of that event, and security was coming at me left and right, and they eventually called the police on me. And the reason I had to be removed from the premises was because I was making people feel uncomfortable with the questions I was asking. And that brings up, the police are now feelings enforcement in this new kind of commie regime that we have. It's absolutely ridiculous. But so you've got Catholic Charities, and Catholic Charities is the face of everything, right? So everybody looks at Catholic Charities; they're taking a lot of heat, but who's really doing a lot of the work for the child trafficking is Southwest Key programs. They are just plain evil. So the big thing about the Rio Grande Valley is, the you don't make much money down here. So there is a checkpoint, a border patrol checkpoint, about 90 miles from McAllen, north of here, in Falfurrias, and south of Falfurrias, you can't get a good paying job, really, especially in trades, welding, plumbing, anything like that. You're just not going to make any money. Reason being is because people will hire illegal aliens down here all the time, and they'll work for next to nothing, and they'll be 10 to a one bedroom apartment. And so basically, if you're not living 10 to a one bedroom apartment and working for minimum wage, you can't make it down here. So it brings down the standard of living for everybody. So people are wondering why, oh, I don't have a good job. Oh, it's some mythical white man who is keeping me down. But no, it's their own lackadaisical attitude towards immigration, and it's been going on for a long time. It's that same kind of game plan the Democrats have been doing forever. Keep them poor, keep them on the government teat, and keep them dumb. The schools down here are just not teaching kids at all. And the people down here are great. They're really great conservative family people, although they vote Democrat. More and more, of course, are seeing the light with the border being open. But so you've got Southwest Key Center. I've been to several locations. I had an altercation with a Weslaco Southwest Key and I got the FOIA. So they called the police on me for standing outside with a camera in a public area. So they called the police on me for exercising my First Amendment right. The police then, after I left that area, the police pulled me over. They said it was for a turn signal. I have all the dash cam and everything. They're going, oh, he got the turn signal, right? We can get him now. They followed me. They went out of their way to follow me. They pulled me over, and they were trying to get me out of the car. I refused. They said they were going to arrest me. They were really trying to provoke me. And come to find out, I get the 911 call back, the FOIA back, and they're saying, yeah, we got this guy here. It's a cause for concern. And I said, okay, well, what is this place? They go, oh, yeah, we have the migrant children here. We're a federal facility. Well, they're a federal contractor, not a federal facility. But either way, why is a municipal police department, basically being thugs for a federal contractor? What are they hiding? Why can't I have a camera? what's going on here? I think everybody has seen that. What are these people hiding? If you're not doing anything wrong, why are you so nervous? But the big thing being is this is the industry in the Valley. The only way without a college degree that you can get, $15 or more an hour, which $15 an hour will get you a lot in the Valley. Nobody wants that to go away. They don't want to whistleblow, even though they see bad things, because that's the industry down here. It's multi-billion-dollar. I think the one Southwest Key Center makes over $1 million a day. The big Walmart one out by, I think Ryan Matta exposed that. He did the math on that. It's so many hundreds of dollars per kid a day, and they have 1,000 kids in there. You multiply that by all the ones just in Cameron County alone, they're making millions of dollars a day just housing these kids. So they never want it to go away. It's really, really crazy with how currency is being devalued, that people are still going after this paper money, this monopoly money, like it's something. You're not going to be able to spend it in the gulag. I don't know what these people think they're gonna do with it. But so you've got Southwest Key, you've got a lot of little ones around. What I'm seeing mainly with the NGOs, and you have others in Brownsville. Brownsville is a very interesting thing. So I don't know if anybody's seen my videos on Brownsville. They have these welcome signs right there. So for the CBP1 border crossers, so I call those bridge crossers. You got bridge crossers and river crossers. That's how I'm kind of naming things right now. So the bridge crossers come across. They leave the CBP area, Customs and Border Patrol area, and they are greeted by faith-based organizations. Used to be Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities used to be the front runner in Brownsville, but there was early this year a Catholic priest is now facing federal charges for child sexual assault and child trafficking. 2 counts of child trafficking by a priest in Brownsville. And now Brownsville is saying, Catholic Charities, you cannot be operating downtown, and even if you are, you cannot be wearing any kind of identifying uniforms. Catholic Charities is red hot. Everybody knows about them. So now they have these other faith-based organizations. They have a welcome wagon. They roll out the red carpet. They get pizza. They get all this stuff, and it's their first point of contact. And another thing is, the NGOs in Mexico aren't really feeding people. They're doing. I've seen some, do a lot of medical work and stuff like that. You've got Med Global, and those other organizations, but they keep you hungry in Mexico, and then as soon as you get to the United States, they treat you like gold. I mean, I've seen how I've gotten many pictures from some of the people who have crossed the bridge, and they're getting ice cream sundaes and pizza and whatever they want to eat while they're waiting for their plane ticket out that's being paid for in a hotel that's being paid for, and everything else. And it's all part of that system. Like, hey, this is Biden's America. We give you get a pizza party and ice cream. So it's all manipulations, big time. But Brownsville's really interesting. They have these signs, this welcome wagon right there, in Chinese, in Russian, in French, in Creole for the Haitians. Hey, we are here to help you. You are here. Here's where the NGOs are. We have food, water, clothes, and everything else for you there. So it's here are the invasion markers. Come right here. We'll gas you up, get you your food and new clothes so you can go invade wherever you're going, especially for the Chinese, because the Chinese are coming here with a plan. 100%, make no mistake about that. So Brownsville, those signs in Brownsville actually say the city of Brownsville on them. They have people downtown in reflective vests helping guide these people, walking them over to the NGOs, helping them get cabs, doing all this different stuff. And if you walk up to them as an American citizen, they go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you." So the city of Brownsville, an American city, is paying employees of that city, an American city, to only talk to illegal aliens that are coming into the country, and they're not allowed to talk to American citizens. So if that's not, if that's not treason, I don't know what is. And I was talking to an NGO employee. It's in that video as well, and she says she has to hide what she does. She gives illegal aliens free hotels and sandwiches and everything else. And if she is caught doing that downtown, she will get in trouble because the city of Brownsville apparently wants them to pay for the hotels. The city of Brownsville again sees these people as a piggy bank. So there's almost too many NGOs to name, but also in Mexico, there's quite a few. But the big thing I'm seeing with these NGOs, and this is on both sides of the border, they've got one storefront, but they'll run 4 or 5 NGOs out of that one store. and they'll wear each other's vests or not wear any uniforms at all. You got Doctors Without Borders, Medico Sin Frontera, all these different NGOs operating out of one place. Certain days of the week, they do certain things. Some days they're feeding people, other days they're helping them fill out paperwork for gosh knows what, to get their benefits and everything else, helping with flights. So they are trying to cast up they're putting up a smoke screen, so you never know exactly who's doing what. But make no mistake, Save the Children is operating down there. Every Hyas is one of the main drivers, and we know this because of Mayorkas. Hyas is really one of the main drivers behind all of this. From I've been into the Darien Gap, and I've seen so in the Darien Gap, they never expect people to actually go down there. So, you go out, you got to pay a guy to take a hollowed out, tree called a piragua to these camps. And these camps are side by side. They're United Nations built camps. They're side by side with the villages of the Embra tribe and Kuna and all these different tribes. The tribes don't really like it, but after a while, the money kind of takes hold, and they're making more money trafficking people in the piraguas than most Americans. They can fit in the big piraguas. They can fit 30 people, and they charge people $25 to $30 a trip, and they can make 4 trips a day. So that's a lot of money. That's and it's all cash right there every day. So when you see all that, and you see that all the way up, I've seen Red Cross posters that go, "Hey, welcome to the Darien Gap. We are going to get you from point A to point B. Here's how we're going to do it." And it's just wide open in the Gap. So if you ever have a chance to go down there, you don't even have to go into the remote villages. You can just go to the end of Highway 1 and see everything that's happening there. And also in Panama, they have Centerfront, which is just like Border Patrol, except for they seem to be a little more high speed. All in all, they were trained by Navy SEALs. And what I'm seeing everywhere, the patterns. If journalism is about noticing patterns over time. All law enforcement in these areas are pushing everybody north. That's what they do. And the law enforcement on the border in the United States, Ryan Matta knows this. We experienced this together at Eagle Pass. The law enforcement on the border is there to stop patriots from stopping Americans from actually doing something and repelling the invasion at all costs. People will run right behind them and jump a fence, and they'll turn around to you and be like, "Hey, you with the camera, you're the one with the problem. You're the problem here, not these people illegally invading." So I know it causes a lot of friction. People don't like to hear it, but something's got to give with law enforcement. They can't just sit there and get the paychecks anymore. I think we need to. I'm sorry for going a little off topic. We need to just let them know, hey, we support you. Just say no. I'm not driving that bus. I'm not going to do this. We'll help you out. Hey, we'll help you find other jobs, or we'll go to these town meetings, to City Hall or whatever, and stand there with you. Because I know there's a lot of guys who are just trying to turn a blind eye to it, but you're not going to be able to turn a blind eye to it when your door's getting kicked down by some Venezuelan gang or by whoever else. And right now, in I don't know how many different states now, non-citizens who know nothing about the Constitution can become police officers. We've already seen American citizens quoting the Constitution to police officers. They roll their eyes like, "Oh, you're one of those people who wants their rights." So, I remember listening to a Cuban immigrant who was around when Castro took power, and the chilling thing she said is that this didn't take 10 years for people to start disappearing and communism to take hold and people, dying and secret police coming after you. It took less than 2. In less than 2 years, Cuba turned into, the communist. I mean, just one of the worst places to be. So, what are we waiting for? The time is now. We got to do everything we can. The pen is very mighty. This is the information war. There's a reason Alex Jones's show is called the Info War. This is what it's all about. You saw what happened with Bud Light. People said, "Hell no, we're not doing that. We're not supporting that." And the Bud Light crashed. We still have the power. We've always had the power. We just need to realize that we have the power and utilize that. Vote with your dollar and everything else. So I'll pass it off to the next person.
Yes, absolutely. I want people to know, yes, we do have the power, and we have to be bring the energy together. And you mentioned course, like we want war with over Target as well, because Target today announced that they're not going to sell Pride merchandise all over in every store, but in some stores, I guess they will pick the areas that Pride Pride Month merchandise will go well, but they're not going. They gave up after 2023 fiasco when everybody went on boycott and stopped getting stuff from them, stop shopping. And so, yes, we have the power now. I don't know if everybody, probably most of you heard that after the Met Gala, the left got really upset with celebrities, the stuff that we have been saying for years now, that stop listening to celebrities, stop following Hollywood advice, or you for your medical advice, your political advice, stop doing. They were laughing at us. Now there's like mass boycott of celebrities. They're trying to block them on Instagram, on every possible social media, because they got just fed up. And especially that one of the videos of the influencer where she said, let them eat the cake, that really it was the cherry on top for all of them. So, and every time when I open TikTok right now, and I don't spend that much time on it, X is my home, but every time when I open TikTok, there's always a video of somebody from right or left. They actually left and right join together, and libertarians as well. They join together to block all the celebrities talking, sharing each other's videos, and they sharing with each other actually who they supposed to block. So I hope that this is going to spread more so, and the same thing I hope that is going to spread on X, because there is a lot of celebrities, and they even called Mark Hamill, who is, he doesn't need the Vaseline to go up Biden's ass. He's always spreads the hate towards not only Trump but us. All the America First patriots. You call yourself whatever the heck you want, mega.
Mimi,
I, you know what? I call myself a patriot. I'm mega as well.
Mimi.
But yes,
Yes, sorry to interrupt. We'll have Oreo say a few words, and then we'll start taking questions and answers. Thank you.
Uh,
sure. Thank you.
All right. On the NGO aspect, I don't think people realize, again, I think this is the one spot where people see some of the video, they know what's going on, but I don't think they understand in detail. So a good information, we've had a lot of great speakers about some of these NGOs, but some of the ones we're forgetting about it are like the Salvation Army. Salvation Army is a big contributor to this invasion, providing flights, hotels, accommodations. We have American Red Cross. When you go out to the southern border, they are working with far left activists to provide them with blankets to give to the people who illegally cross along Arizona and other spots. You will see them out there handing out their blankets. As far as Jewish Family Services and Catholic Charities, I just wanted to read something because these NGOs aren't just doing things on the border invasion, but there's a lot of leftist causes they support. All in all, they're really bad for America, and this is just you can go and do your own research, but if you type in a an NGO name, a non-governmental organization like Catholic Charities and a town near you, you can actually go and type 990 and it'll give you their tax information and what they provide on their taxes, how much money they're getting. It's usually a year, 2 years behind. But one of the things, Catholic Charities of Los Angeles, California, it says you have to fill out briefly, describe the organization's mission and what it's about. And one of the things that they put up there is CCLA, which is Catholic Charities LA, is committed to wait, sorry, got the wrong one. Oh, collaborating with diverse communities, providing services to the poor, vulnerable, promoting human dignity, and advocating for social justice. All left leaning words. If you go to Jewish Family Services San Diego, it's very similar, but they admit to it right now. What they do on their own forms that they have to file. It says JFS, which is Jewish Family Service, has welcomed new immigrants and those in search of a safer life free from violence and persecution. The organization continues to empower refugees to rebuild their lives through resettlement services, offers pro bono immigration legal services, and provides safety to asylum seekers through humanitarian services and respite shelters. Now, unfortunately, a lot of people think these people that are coming over are fleeing some type of persecution. They're not. I would say 99% are not. From all the interviews we've done and talked to, they're coming over for economical reasons. We even had somebody in an interview tell us that they didn't like their family. They were sick of their family in Venezuela, so they came here to get away from their family. I mean, these are true stories that go on live stream while we're down there. Also, when it comes to the money, you guys can do that 990 and put that in there. And if you look at the money that these places are receiving now, so when Biden and Mayorkas come out and say we don't have the funding to secure the border, that funding is not to secure the border. That funding goes to NGOs. A lot of it goes to NGOs so that when people illegally cross into the United States, they are taken care of better than our veterans and our own homeless citizens. A good example is 2021. The San Diego one, Jewish Family Services, their contributions and grants, the grants are your tax dollars from the federal government, was $41 million. The following year, that jumped up to $77 million. A lot of these that we look into are almost doubling in money. And then each year, 2023, they get more. 2024, they get more. Now, the NGOs that were at the school facility in San Diego on the campus, we interviewed people, and I'm going to make an assumption here. We can't prove this, but when we interviewed people and asked them, where are you going? And they said, we're going to head to the airport soon. And they said, who paid for your plane ticket? And many of them said that they paid for it themselves. And we asked how. They said they gave the money to the NGO at the school, and the NGO then went online and purchased them a ticket. So we see this quite a bit when we're talking and interviewing folks. Now, is there any track of that money, or did somebody just pocket $550 and then they're going to write off the expense as an NGO with your taxpayer dollars saying, hey, these people had no money. We needed to get them to Denver. This is what we provided. Because we also talked to the taxi cab drivers down there when we were in San Diego. They came up to us asking what we were doing. They were in favor of us exposing this. And we asked them, why are you so upset with this facility? They said, because they're using their own employees and charging these people for rides to the airport and rides to different services. So they're paying cash to these people that are part of the NGO that are operating in the facility. And that's taking away from our business, because before they got here, we would be able to give these people rides here and rides there. So I think there's a lot of people getting rich in these NGOs. And again, we don't know, we don't have any proof of it, but when they're coming out and we're interviewing them, the ones they allow us to interview because they don't know we're speaking to them, and they say that they're giving the cash that they have on them to the NGO so that they'll buy the plane ticket instead of buying it themselves. That was pretty sketchy for one. But we see this a lot, and like I said, we can't forget Salvation Army, American Red Cross, and these folks are making a mint. They talked about it earlier. I looked this up. I think I have it right now. The chief executive officer, Michael Hopkins of Jewish Family Services. Now, this is from 2022. His total salary was over $500,000, somewhere in the neighborhood of $514,000 a year. The chief financial officer was somewhere over 225,000. Those people up top make a lot of money. It's much worse if you go to Catholic charities. Some of those people are making well into $1 million a year at certain Catholic charities. Now, obviously, they're all under the same umbrella, but where Hernando is, he has the Catholic Charities of San Antonio. Here in California, we probably have about 45, the Catholic Charities of Sacramento, San Diego, so on and so forth. So these people are essentially getting rich off taxpayer dollars. If we defunded the NGOs, if we came forward and said, listen, we're going to make a rule that taxpayer money goes to America first and only can be for services for America, these people would be done, because many of their services, a major majority of their services, are going to illegals. And like RGV Truth said, these NGOs, Catholic charities, are in the Darien Gap. They're in Panama with American taxpayer dollars. And so a lot of people don't realize that. They see it's only once it comes in. That is not the case. These NGOs are set up all across South America. They have hubs everywhere, which guide people. It teaches them how to lie too. I don't think anybody's covered that. They have forms. They coach them on what to tell our government so that they can get an asylum claim. Because again, these people are not 99%, and I know that's probably non-believable, but I'm telling you from the interviews we did, I think out of hundreds of interviews, 2 people might have had an asylum claim, and one was a young 15-year-old girl in Juarez, Texas, who was fleeing. She came on the trip by herself. She was crying when we talked to her. She was upset. She didn't know what to expect with Border Patrol. And she said she was brutally raped and had a lot of sexual assaults going on with her, and her family was doing nothing. So she fled on her own. And another one that said, that they were, I can't remember which country, I think it was Venezuela, that they spoke out about the Venezuelan government. This person had pictures and articles about him from Venezuela where the government was looking for him. But other than that, we want a good job. We want to be able to come here and the good schools for our kids. And others are, you get some that are right out saying, because America will provide for us, the taxpayers will provide for us. So I think I would urge all you guys, be your own investigators. When you have spare time on your phone, you don't have to put any time in, but just look in your areas, what NGOs you have are in another major city near you, and just look it up and look how much money they're getting of your tax dollars. And then a lot of times you don't even have to go farther than to read what they're putting on their tax forms, like I just read to you. They're open and honest about what they're doing, to the extent that they have no will to help out the American people, that this is all about people that are invading this country. So again, and also for those listening, you have a cell phone. You had the most powerful tool, the most powerful weapon I've ever had, more powerful than a gun, was my camera. Because you could be driving by a place, think something looks off, just take a quick video, take a couple pictures, share it out, tag people that are in this chat, some of the journalists that are in this chat, and we will go do the research and look into it to see if it's anything, because you could be the person that provides that. As I talked about earlier, the old highway patrol station on Pacific Highway, that's now the Jewish Family Services NGO, that was somebody, a great patriot, that was driving by. He noticed there was tarp over the chain link fences, which they usually do at the hotels and these processing centers. And he took a couple pictures and sent them to me. And that later that same day, I was down there, and sure enough, it was confirmed again that it was another hub for human trafficking. So again, learn where your money's going, because your tax dollars is paying for that. I want to say thank you for giving me time to speak, and I'll pass it on to the next person.
Thank you so much. With Lemon, I saw you coming in. Appreciate that you stopped by, and I know you probably have some stories to share with us. If you have a few seconds to share, I will appreciate it. I don't know if you can hear me. I don't know.
Yes, thank you. Meme G Santino, thank you so much for hosting this. This is an incredible space. You know, everyone kind of listening in. You're talking to some of the best in the business as far as border coverage goes, in depth, both America and Mexico and beyond. As other people have said, I mean, the wealth of information in here. It's an honor to talk to you guys and to be mildly included in your group there. And there's some other names out there too. I don't want to forget those people. There are some other folks out there as well. But just I want to echo two things. One is if any of this information sounds familiar to you, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, "Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that," it's probably because of people either in this space or just outside. You know, Anthony Aguero and Bill Malugi and Ali Bradley, some big names out there too. But if you're hearing some of this information, it's because of people on the ground putting in hours and hours in really austere conditions, dangerous conditions. If I get this name wrong, I'm very sorry. I think Oreo was just across from Sunland Park in Anapra. If I'm getting that name wrong, I apologize. But one of you guys was there and just immediately accosted by the cartel there, and just, you're putting yourselves out there and to get this information. So coming together and exposing this issue. I think the main topic right now is NGOs, and I want to highlight the greatest NGO of all time, the United Nations. You guys have seen their pamphlets, their information, their maps that they do. I think one of you was talking about how the migrants know what to say once they get to the border and how they got there. A lot of that comes from the United Nations. They pump millions and millions of dollars into this whole situation. I know they're not a direct NGO, but I call them an NGO. We certainly fund them. It's a lot of tax dollars headed their way. So they certainly are culpable in all of this. And gosh, again, to contribute to this group, I mean, you guys are just doing awesome work. I want to reiterate something that everybody has been touching on. FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, did a study that the Epic Times covered, and they looked at all of the money that taxpayers are spending. And just in 2023, in the fiscal year, this entire situation cost taxpayers $182 billion. So that was just in that year. And that encompasses a lot of different things. So the cost of this, the monetary cost to the taxpayers, the cost to the United States of America, and the cost to the migrants, as RGV was talking about, the stories that we hear and see on the border are horrific, beyond understanding and comprehension, going all the way back into Darien. So this situation is untenable. It's atrocious. It's gotten worse in the last 3.5 years. And again, thank you all for being here and listening and being a part of this. And thank you all, journalists, for being on the ground. I mean, I've spent not nearly as enough time as you guys, but I've spent a few months down there myself, and it is not easy. So major props to you guys doing this all on shoestring budgets. There's massive corporations and organizations that could spend millions of dollars exposing all of this, and they don't. So it's up to people like you guys to do that. So again, props to you guys, and props to Meme and G and Santina for having the space. And my gosh, I'm gonna listen to this as soon as we're done.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move now to questions. If you guys have questions, please request to speak. I'll bring you up. I'll drop you down. There is not enough room for everybody, so I'll be trying to move the room around. So please go ahead. If you want to ask question, raise your hand. I'll be glad to bring you. Okay, so I'm going to get Jeremiah. You were the first one raising your hand. Did I notice if I get people like a little bit mistake who was first, second, please don't mind me. Don't take it personally, okay? Jeremiah, can you hear me? You can ask question.
Yes, ma'am. And I appreciate you for hosting the space, Santos. G, it's amazing. All of you citizen reporters, some of you guys may know me, some may not. I, the Storm Hernando, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar. So I am, along with 17th SOG, a researcher, and we've researched these NGOs for about a year now, and we have a lot of the information you guys are speaking on. 17th has written Substacks, I think about 10 to 12 of them. that has a lot of the data you guys are speaking on in there. And I know we shared it with Hernandez and a couple other gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen who are reporting from the border. So I just wanted to deplore anybody who is at the border that could possibly use this information. Please, it's free. It's not no paywall. It's all there. You can use it. And if you see something that you may see down there that you want looked into, please send it to us, because we work with Behind the Mask, April Sparks, and QAG, who go to the border, and they'll see something, and they'll send it back to us or research it. I mean, we found a government contractor that was tied in this. I think it was called ISS Action, who was actually they were busing these immigrants to this location. It was just an old trucker facility, no sign outside, no notification that they were located there. Um, and then they were transporting these immigrants elsewhere, right? And this is a government contractor. A few things that I wanted to point to. One of the things I heard you guys speaking of Catholic charities a lot, in the Jewish churches. I just want to let you know there are a lot of other churches that are tied and involved in this. Lutherans, you name it, they're in it. And that's all detailed and documented in there as well. And I started the gentleman that was speaking on uh, the way that you can look into these NGOs was through their 990s. That is a good way, and it's also a very good way to find out how they're spending it. But the problem is a lot of them are not as detailed in how they spend it. There's no oversight on this, and this is a massive issue as well. But I'll tell you too. Another way to look is US.gov or USspend.gov. It's a really good way because you can actually track the monies they're receiving a lot better. And I heard somebody say that it was to the tune of billions. It's to the tune of trillions. Um, and if they were to shut these NGOs down, they could have shut this border down a long time ago. So to say that they have no funds for it is absolutely ridiculous, and they're weaponizing them against us. One of the other things I wanted to touch on real quick, and I could flood so much information, but I want to take up too much time. But I heard somebody mentioning the UN organizations being involved in this. I want to let you know that when the UN was created back in 1945, they literally coined the phrase NGOs so that they could have third parties, organizations involved, and it kind of takes the reach out of, or so to paraphrase here, so they could have somebody to blame, because prior to that they were called intergovernment organizations, right? So you can look into that. I won't go too much into it to that as well, but this was a plan put in place a long time ago that we're seeing being carried out. And if you look into George Bush Sr. in 1989, he spoke a lot about 1,000 points of lights leading up to his presidency. Once he got into his presidency, he started 1,000 Points of Light Foundation, which basically rewarded the start of foundations and NGOs across the country, which is again weaponizing these NGOs against us for such an occasion like this. And then one of the other things I wanted to bring to your attention that needs to, I dropped some of this information up in the bubble, and a lot of it's in the pill, is that they are now admitting the 2030 agenda, and they are currently flying. You don't even have to make the track anymore. If you have somebody in the U.S. can sponsor you, fill out a form, and they will fly, pay for your ticket, your airfare over here, put you into a one of these hubs or safe places or whatever you want to call them, and then give you a work visa on a probationary period and send you out um, into the USA. And it's just that simple. They're making it as easy as they possibly can to get. It's an open door to pay, and we're paying for it. Um, One of the other things I wanted to add to the endeavors side of this, um, in the start of Biden's presidency, he gave Endeavors a no bid contract. Just, hey, here you go. You're the most powerful NGO. Go out there and do your thing. Prior to Endeavors being an NGO at the border, they were based off from Veteran Services. And that's all in a sub thread that I also put. I think actually Bearskin put into the purple pill. If you guys want to look further into that. But I do want to implore any citizen journalist, any space host, or anybody, please look at that information. It's free. It's very helpful. This needs to be talked about. We've been screaming about it since I think August of last year, and highly appreciate all the work you guys are doing, especially you that are putting yourself in the line of fire at the border, and reporting from this. We got to work together collectively and bring this issue to light, because government's not going to do it.
Thank
We need to. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
We're going to go to the hands. We're going to shuffle people around. If we drop you down, you could always re-request. Right now, we're going to go to Loose Cannon. Name. If you have any questions, please let the space know who you're directing it at, or just ask it, and anyone will, in particular, it doesn't matter, will answer.
I just want to say thank you for this space. This is amazing. This is one of the best spaces I've been in a minute. I love all the speakers. I love all the hosts, and I am not an expert by any means, and I am not on the ground, which I wish I could be. But there is one way I can help boost this space. So everybody always says share the space and like it, which obviously works. But something else we can do is, it looks like I'm throwing a lot of emojis, and I am. It's my personality, and the algorithm sees it. It makes it look like this space is more interactive and more people are like the space is booming, like it's a Friday night space that everybody wants to go to. So I encourage you to use emojis. And the other thing you can do to help is get in the purple pill and like everybody's comments. Well, not everybody. There's a few trolls in there. I already went through them all. So, but almost, like, seriously, 95% of them are awesome. Okay. So by liking those comments, the algorithm also sees that, right? And it just makes this space look like it's like everybody's just loving it. And I will say, I'm so impressed. We have about 215 people in here the last time I looked. You've got about 135 shares, which is amazing. Okay. And look at how many we got, 125 comments in the pill. This space is awesome. But one thing I know that I wish I could be down there with Hernando. He's just awesome. He's like, I love Hernando. I love all of you guys, but I mean, I really follow Hernando, to be honest. That's why I'm here too, is because he invited me days ago to this space. Okay. And I set my reminder, or I would have forgot. Okay. So it's really good to send out those invites ahead of time. That also helps. And I just wanted to say thank you again. And because I can't be on the ground up here in Oregon, we just don't have the same, we have other problems, right? And I'm working on those. But yeah, share the space, like the space, and get in that purple pill, like other people's comments, and throw up those emojis, because Musk's algorithm sees that, and then our space is up on the top of the thing more, and it'll run down people's feed. I love you all. That was how I could help. Drop me down.
Oh, I love this energy.
That
Thank
was
you very much. You got my follow. Your energy is amazing. Thank you, Luz. You're
yes. Thank
great.
you, Luz. Luz Chorita. Can you please go next? And we're going to move people around. I see we have a couple of requests. We'll get you up. Thank you all for being here, and definitely take Loose Cannon's advice. Anything that helps to get the message out.
Yeah, I just have a question, and I guess I'll pose it to anyone. And the question would be, what advice do you have, if any, around safer parts of America that are more insulated from this? What advice would you give to people that are asking, what are some of the safer parts to live in America that are more shielded from this?
Well, if I can answer that question, I don't think any city or state or county is safe from this. This is coming to your, not to your front door, it's coming to your back door, because that's how they entered America, illegally. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I'd like to add that so down here on the border in the Rio Grande Valley and everything, it's a lot of people come through here, but not a lot of them stay. There is a long history of illegal aliens here, but it's usually Mexicans that have go back and forth. So really, the major cities are they're going to be really bad. They're going to turn into 15-minute cities and everything else. Um, but yeah, as Hernando is saying, I don't think anywhere is really safe. Although, it's funny enough, in the border areas, there seems to be less of that violent crime and everything. Two reasons: because they don't want it here, because that go, oh look, this border town's really violent. Therefore the border's bad. And also, just like McAllen PD and everybody else down here, you can go in and say, "Hey, I was assaulted," and they go, "Oh no," and they'll turn it into a misdemeanor. El Paso's famous for this. All the border towns are famous for downgrading crimes, so the statistics make it look like it's a safe place to be. So you always, if you've ever wondered why the border areas are safer, it's because everybody's in on it and nobody's reporting it, or they're downgrading things. So I mean, unless you're going to go out into the middle of nowhere and go off grid, it's gonna be everywhere. There's towns in Wyoming that are full of Venezuelans. A lot of Venezuelans are going to Utah. A lot of Mexicans are going to Kansas. There is different what are called meta structures being set up all over. Certain countries, for whatever reason, I'm still looking into this why, but certain people from certain countries want to go to a certain state, and like what is it? Minnesota is full of Somalis. So it is, and I would say that the people who seem to want to assimilate the least would be from the Middle East, Haiti, and Africa. They seem to be more, and I'm not trying to be like racist or anything like that,
They're
but
psychopaths. That's why you don't be afraid to say it.
yeah. When I'm in Mexico, the Haitians are really rude. Last time I was exchanging money down there, about six of them crowded around me. They're not waiting in line. They're like, "Hey, let's see if we can punk this guy." So, everybody's different, but there's in Africa, what's considered okay down there doesn't fly up here, and you have I'd say a lot of the South and Central American countries can kind of assimilate a little better, but all in all, yeah, I don't think there's really a safe place. Let me turn my mic off here.
If I may,
Why
can
are
I?
we not tracking them from the air? I mean, we have a guy that some of you have Elon's ear. I mean, this guy has a fucking satellite system. Why not have 20 drones up in the air? We can actually see these assholes' text messages. Why not bring the fight right to them? Some of you guys are on the battle. You're on the field. You guys are going to get killed. Fuck that. Why not just use the air? There's got to be some people that have liquid bales of cash that'll be ready to put money up where we can track them from the air, their license plates, where they're going, what church, what school, what organization. Track them right to their fucking home doors and publish this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the internet. There has to be a way to really bring the fight to them where you guys don't have to be at death's door. I mean, this in today's world of technology, this is simple, and I think that's the way to really combat these bastards. 20, 30 drones in the air. We'll know everything about these people in 72 hours. There'll be nowhere that they could hide, and I don't believe that that would be hard to pull off. And we got a guy who owns a satellite system, and some of you have his ear. I'll say it again. I'll do a video in the morning. I'll bang it out right out to Elon and go, listen, here's what we should do. Here's how we should do it. And you have some money, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people that have some cash. I'll put up some cash. I'll buy a fucking drone because I hate these people. They need to be stopped. But the problem is
Thank you, Stock. Thank you, Stock.
they're demented all the way up the line.
Thank you,
So
Stock. Do you have a question for the panel?
why not put this in place? Why not create something where we just track every sociopath that's helping these people along? Where's that car going? Who are they? What's that license plate? Run
Thank you.
the license plate. I mean,
Thank you.
that's the way.
Stock. He just asked you a question. Do you have a question for our guest panel?
That's the question.
Okay, so can someone please answer that? Thank you.
I mean, we do drone footage in San Diego. I think everybody could really do it. It's just a matter of, I mean, not everybody has a drone, and you can only fly in certain areas. Like you can't go fly out at the border. There's a lot of places that you can't. There's no authority to fly there.
If I may, I want to answer the last two questions. One being the question that was just posed. We have to have an administration that's willing to do something. Um, that's why this election is so important. And two, to the question of where is the safe place to live, there isn't one, because I can tell you they these guys are moving to the interior of the U.S. Not only are they bringing their gangs and their drugs and so on. April Sparks was sent me. She encountered a little girl coming across the border, and the little girl was showed her uh, an address of where she wanted to go, and that led to Idaho. And she said this to me. I looked into this address. Well, in the subdivision of about 250 homes, the majority of these homes were all from Guatemala, Venezuela, Mexico, and so on. If these homes weren't occupied by, I'm just going to say Spanish last names, then they were owned by real estate companies. One of those real estate companies were USS Realty or something like that. And that's the realty company that you see the signs that say we pay cash for houses and so on. So I looked into that real estate company, and they actually have been in trouble for purchasing these homes for cash, taking out loans for remodeling them, and then turning around and selling them for a discounted price and not doing any upgrades to the house. So this is an issue, and this is something that I'm not just seeing in Idaho, but in Tennessee and in other areas across the excuse me, across the interior of the U.S. We have a major issue here, and it's got to be addressed. But the only way that it's going to get addressed is if we put the right administration in, in to address these situations. One of the other things that I wanted to allude to as well was the Florida grand jury did a very extensive investigation into the border and particularly Guatemala immigrants coming across. If you guys see these letters coming from the to the Attorney General Ken Paxton to do something about the border out of Guatemala, there's some truth to that. The mainstream media is not going to report on any of this, but we have, and 17th has wrote a Substack on it and details it out extensively. These not only these, this is a humanitarian crisis for these Guatemalans that are coming across here. A lot of them do not make it. A lot of them get killed, raped, and murdered. I mean, there's piles of burnt bodies stacked along that Darien Gap to get here. This is the hard truths that people need to know that is happening, right? And that's if and when they make it here, they now have a lifetime of debt because they have to pay back these coyotes that are getting them across here. And not only are their families at risk back in Guatemala or Mexico or Venezuela or wherever else they're being trafficked from, but they're in danger here as well. And you also see a lot of these um, immigrants that are at these sponsors. About 30 days after they, make it to a sponsor's location, they go missing. And this is, I mean, local reporters out of Virginia have reported on this, and they can't get any help from HHS, the DOJ, or anybody from the upper echelons. Um, there's no, they have no paperwork on them. So once they go missing, they're 9 times out of 10 your prostitutes, your drug runner, or your trafficked people within the United States. This is a major issue that we have to pay attention to.
Thank you, Jeremiah. I
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
that.
I just wanted to add just one comment about immigration. The reason why I know is because I have immigration lawyers that come to me. I also have immigrants over the years that have come to me. There was a time in the past where when you immigrated from another country to the Western world, you needed a certain amount of money. It depended on how much money you had, and they would place you in that country. You could have been in a small town. You'd have to stay there for at least 2 years. Then what would happen is after those 2 years are up, then you can go to obviously the big town where you can build your life, build a business, what have you. The times have changed. What's happening now is it's people are building their own community of their own nationality, their own language in the cities. So they can't do that in the bigger cities because obviously they're full. So what they're doing is they're choosing to go to the smaller cities where they can build like a little Greek town, a little Italy, a little Pakistan, a little India. That's the objective now. They want to build their community, not simulate, keep their language going in their own small town in the like little strips. They build these strips. So basically what I'm saying, they cannot go to Manhattan. They cannot go to a big city because it's already filled. They can't open up, they can't start from scratch. So they choose to go to these small cities, hoping to build a little, like I said, India, what have you. So I just want to add that just to give you a bit of clarity. A lot of time the law back then was that you had to have like 100 grand. I can't even remember, 150 grand. If you had a good chunk of money, they would allow you to go to like Manhattan or Toronto or what have you. But now that's changed, and you have that 2-year mark. And like, they send you to like, I mean, God, like really small parts. You'd have to sit there and just fend for yourself, and you just watch the clock, you watch the time, and you could not wait till that 2 years was up. This is what I've learned. So I just want to add that. Go ahead.
Ginny, do you have a question, my dear?
I was just going to comment that I had thrown a map down in the purple pill that helps see the 10 top level NGOs involved. Like Catholic Charities is going to be listed as USCCB, which is something about the Catholic bishops. Okay. So it's not going to say Catholic Charities. You're going to have to find the Catholic word in those 10 names. But there's Lutheran, there's Episcopalian, there is World Relief, there is IRC, which is something International Rescue Committee. IRC and World Relief are the ones that are, I think, Jeremiah, you may be able to confirm this, bringing like the Africans, the truly forcibly displaced, the poorest of the poor. I think that's where they're coming from. But if you look at that map, that is the general idea. It is outdated. It's from April of 23. If you notice at the bottom, it is published, they have removed it from the website, I believe, Jeremiah. It was published April of 23, so it is outdated, but it has different colors for Lutheran versus Catholic versus World Relief and so forth. You can look at that. That was the general idea. But then you think about the buses going from San Antonio or El Paso or wherever to Chicago and New York and Denver and everywhere else. They can stop anywhere to get gas, and they cannot tell them they can't get off the bus. So they could be put out in the smallest of communities, and once they get somewhere, as I believe it was Santino said, if it gets full, they're free to roam wherever they want to go. But when you get to how do you get the Greek and this sort of thing, that was previous. We got Greek and Mexican. Now we got every nationality, you guys. And how do they get settled in particular areas? It goes back to those 10 NGOs. HICE is one of them. They are going to choose their people, right? Their nationalities.
Gene, I'm sorry, Gene. I don't mean to cut you off, and I by
But
no
yeah,
means
I hope no
by
problem.
no means do I to be rude, but these people are busy. Their time is precious, so we'd like to get
Absolutely.
questions out for them so they can answer them and get through the rest of the people that have requested to speak. Appreciate all
Absolutely.
the information that you put in the thread, and we will definitely check it out.
Thank you, Meme. You guys, you got an awesome panel and a fabulous space. Thanks for allowing me to speak.
If anybody down in the bottom wants to has a question, please request a mic. I'll bring you right up immediately. We have a great panel here with so much great information, information that we need. We're thirsty. So please, if you have any great questions for them, their time is valuable. They're here to answer all your questions. They're motivated. If you have anything, please put your hand up and ask a question. It's about asking questions. And we have these great speakers here. Like, let's appreciate them. Thank you.
I just wanted to give shout out to Scott Presley who stopped by. I appreciate you, Scott. Everything what you doing, you're my hero. I think you're most of our hero. And we really appreciate your hard work and chasing the voters and signing up everybody you can and finding every chance opportunity to ask if they if they're going to vote, if they want to be registered. So I really want to send you my love for this. Okay, I hope that you can hear me. So if there is anybody open votes, you have question, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
2 minutes on the questions, please. Thank you.
Okay. Hey guys, this is Trevor from Ontario, Canada here. I was just wondering if all the Americans had a citizen approval rating app, and the question was, should we mass deport anyone who isn't in the country legally? What do you think the percentage of the Americans approving that? Do you think it'd be like 95%? Like in UK, they're like, stop the boats. We're full. We can't have any more people. We really need to close the borders and kick out all the people that are there. So I'm just wondering, what percentage do you think of Americans would approve of something like that?
Well, if I can go first, and then the other speakers can go on that. I have a theory. Once, God willing, Donald Trump becomes president this November, there will be a mass deportation. And the way I see it playing out, real simply, I'll keep this short and sweet so we can get as many questions answered. Is you're going to have 30% are going to self-deport. Why do I say that? Because I've interviewed many illegals that are not happy to be here. They're not happy here. It's funny that every time I ask an illegal, would you do this journey again? 99% of them say, no, I would never do this journey again, ever. Interesting, right? So 33 are self-deport. The other 30%, 33%, we're gonna have to go boots on the ground to find them. It's gonna get ugly. It's gonna get difficult. People are gonna get hurt and die. And then the last 33%, we will never find them ever again. They'll be in the shadows and they'll be well entrenched where we will never find them again. Thank you.
Okay, Jeremiah, go ahead. If you have a question, go ahead, please. Jeremiah?
Yes. So to piggyback off from what Jeannie was saying, we haven't even touched on the global NGOs yet. So I was wondering, any of you reporters with boots on the ground, if you've questioned or seen any of these immigrants talking about these global NGOs or anything that would allude to that.
Yeah, if I may. So, good buddy of mine, Michael Yan. I mean, he is harping right now. He's big on Hias. He's screaming Hias from the rooftops because Mayorkas and everything else. But so the United Nations with the UNACR, that's a lesser known one. Everybody knows about IOM or OIM, depending on what country, an International Office of Migration. But as the coin's been termed, that IOM is a pump house. Anywhere you see IOM, you're going to start seeing illegal immigration, and it's good old weaponized migration. There is a book that I will tell everybody to read. It's only 300 pages, has lots of graphs and everything else in it, and it's called Weapons of Mass Migration. It was actually written by a socialist professor in 2006, and it has every instance of weaponized migration used from post World War II to 2006, and it's a great way to talk to people and not put. You don't even have to talk about the examples of today, but basically, what weaponized migration does, the biggest thing it does, weaponized migration to a target state causes division. Yeah, sound familiar, right? So this is a big tactic used by the United Nations, and anywhere you see an OIM office, I was in Belize. We were talking to an immigration officer in Belize. And funny enough, we were trying to look for these boats that people take across this river into Mexico. And we asked a guy who owned a shop. He also happened to be an immigration agent. So it was really amazing to talk to him. And he said that, yeah, OIM has moved into his country and they're telling people you need to help people out. Now, Belize has very, very strong border policies. The flight leaving Belize, I talked to several Turkish men who were being deported. And they said the jail in Belize, the prison in Belize was so terrible. They only got one meal a day and it was, just such a terrible place that they're getting deported to Turkey and they're never going to try it again. They're never coming back to the Americas. They said maybe in Europe somewhere, but hardline immigration policy works. It 100% works, and the UN goes into places and does their psyops and gets their blue-haired people out there to make you feel bad about being a nationalist, about loving your country, about having strong borders. They use your kindness against you. So OIM, IOM, UNHCR, which is like the Human Rights Council, they are absolutely putting the screws to anybody. They're going to send money to all the politicians, and they're going to gaslight anybody who opposes them. So yeah, United Nations, big time.
I just want
Thank
to
you.
say something real quick. Actually, they're
Go ahead.
also like you can see things as long like along the way that they drop off that are from those entities. Like I found there was a pregnancy test that was found, so they're giving those rape kits and different kits along the way, so you can see them coming across. Because they'll discard them along the way. So you can tell that they've been engaged with all of them. And anytime you talk to somebody, they always say that there's help. Like they've never been kind of just trying to find out where to go. It's very well organized at every point.
Thank you so much. We have a new speaker, Nico. Go ahead, Nico. Do you have a question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Imeme, and to your wonderful co-host and all the friends top to bottom. My question is, according to U.S. Border Patrol, back in December in 2023, there was about 250,000 encounters right by the border coming from Mexico to U.S. So that roughly leaves her at 8,000 to 9,000 people trying to sneak in through the border. The question is for the panel, is that number a lot higher or has it decreased?
I mean, it's a lot higher. There's like at least 45 million. So I mean, any number they give you, you have to at least double or triple it. They're going to give you a small amount, and then you have to understand that that's their numbers that they want to give us, and so they're going to give you just enough to be like, oh, this is what's happening, but in reality it's a lot higher than that, and that's the problem. That's why it's important for us to keep sharing all of the truth and what we are finding, because there's no way that for like just in San Diego for 3 years you could be running these hotels and all of this or like organization that's going on with all of the shelters and everything and have it only be like 100 and some odd thousand people. That's totally ridiculous for us to just believe the numbers that they're giving us. So we have to know that it's way higher than what they're saying.
I have to agree with you. Why would they tell us the exact numbers? They want to keep them low to make us believe that it's not happening. It's not as bad as it looks. I bet you the numbers, like you said, are massive, massive numbers you can't even imagine. And that's why they're saying, "Oh no, it's not that bad. It's not that bad." Lady, do you have a question, please? Go ahead for our special guests.
Yes. Hi. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all talking about this and making everybody more educated about it. Hi, Hernando. It's good to see you and just everybody. Appreciate you all. Yeah, I'm in Colorado here. I'm in Denver, southwest corner of Denver. Been here my entire life, as well as in New Mexico. My grandmother and cousins and everybody lived in Albuquerque, and so growing up, I went there just all the time, and so I love that state. And now I have a son that's down living in El Paso. And he's with the media and can't really talk to him about any of this stuff. He's just not open, and or he just reports and that's it. But I drive that route sometimes, and I just get such a feeling that, yeah, on the hillsides there's just seems to be so many little trails that go back and hide along the way. And it's so easy on those mountainsides to just get out of sight on the other side a little bit, right on I-25 and hide out. And something came up recently. I don't know if you saw it. It was about the governor getting caught on a call where she was actually talking about them getting through, and then she called them baby producers. Well, the baby producers are okay, or something like that. And I've reposted it a couple times. I'll try and put it down in the pill. But are you following that at all? You know how New Mexico seems to be this little haven area or something, and I just feel so much for these people and the children. Thank you.
Uh, yes. So that
If you want to
is.
answer that, yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
there's
and
no dead
if you
space
want me
here.
to, I can read that article. I've got it right here, a
Thank
little
you.
bit of,
Thank,
if you want.
thank you for the question. And since we're on the topic of children, and we know that there's more than 85,000 missing, it's more double or triple that amount, really. Since the Biden regime's taken office, it's been over 550,000 children, unaccompanied children, that have entered the country. But I just want to give you the audience what's happening in my sector. I asked these family units, and we're getting a lot of family units in my sector. Uh, are they doing the swab test, the DNA test? Surprisingly, which is one of the surprises of this here invasion, is that the answer is yes. And I asked a retired deputy of ICE. I said, why is that? He said that that sector probably has a contract with a vendor, because there's all vendors, subcontractors, that is still in effect, and they still got funding. So, as far as I know, with the children here, thank God, the silver lining, that these children are doing swab tests with the parents, and the parents get tested too. And I gotta say, I'm not here to gaslight, but I would say a good 90% of the illegals that come here, they're truly their parents. And I also want to make some misunderstanding out what I hear out there in the media is that these illegals are getting credit cards. Understand, when I interview them, they've only been here 3 to 5 days, and I've asked them multiple times, have you gotten a credit card or money or funding from the federal government or city or state? And the answer is 100% no. So understand that when they do get funding, it's usually when they're at the sponsor city that they say they're going to go to, and it's usually a sanctuary city or state. Mind you, Texas is not a sanctuary city or state, but here we are, right? And so I just want to clarify those things. Thank you. I'll turn the mic over to another question. Let's try. Let's keep. We're going on to 3 hours. We want to keep this at around 3 hours. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your questions.
Okay, I want to introduce before I, let my another independent journalist, Judge Jeff from Cali. I want before I'll bring him up. I want to Banana Ben Hammer. Do you have a question, my dear?
I've heard people, a person speaking, saying that they were building shelters and basically like a little colony ridges on Native American reservations, and I haven't been able to substantiate that. Have you guys heard anything about anything like that going on?
Yeah, so out in the El Paso area, New Mexico area, that's a big thing. The other thing with that is the criminal elements from the other side, a long time ago have set up, drug distribution through these Native American lands that are basically everybody's related. So what they would do is they'd marry a Native American woman, and these would be big time like meth peddlers or coke peddlers, and that Native American woman's dad is the police chief for that tribe. So they pretty much have carte blanche in those areas. So yeah, anything and everything can be happening there. And I believe it was, in eastern New Mexico, West Texas area, that is absolutely happening.
Righty. Hi, Jeff. Nice to see you, my dear. I'm glad that you stopped by.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me. So I spent 7 weeks on the border in Lukeville, Arizona. I was camped out there at the port of entry that eventually got shut down because the situation was so out of control. And one thing I noticed, I just posted a few of the videos from my time there. I filmed about 50,000 illegal aliens coming through cuts in the border wall there. Most of them were from Islamic nations in Africa, from Guinea and Senegal. And so that was the biggest, striking thing that I'd never seen before in 5 years filming on the border, was masses of people from all over the world: Syria, Pakistan, like Middle East, Africa. I'd never seen anything like it. Usually it's people from Central America, Mexico, South America. And this was the first time I'd ever seen anything like that. And were they coming through by the thousands almost every day? There was like no let up. The 7 weeks I was camped there filming. So I still have lots of video. I probably have about 100 hours of videos that I haven't put out yet, and I need to. I just ran out of time. I've been fundraising, like doing stuff, getting ready for other border trips and cross country stuff. So, but the numbers were staggering. The Border Patrol they needed more help there. The Biden administration doesn't give it to them. And I mean, they want them to come in. And you can see on my highlights on my X account, I've like listed all my the videos that I took out there. I'll probably be back there near San Diego also, and some other place, maybe in Texas. I'm not sure. My next tour. But anyway, if anybody has any questions or anything like that, I'm just
You know what? You guys might not know Jeff. He's smaller. He has small account, but one of his videos made it viral. Everybody, basically all the major huge accounts, kind of uh, took it from his account. Was one of the videos when immigrants were like the migrants were running, and there were like hundreds and hundreds of them by the border, and everybody was sharing. I think even Musk shared it or commented on it
yeah.
some time ago. So was this his video sparked a lot of outrage online and was shared not only on X but everywhere. So Jeff, kudos to you, and kudos to all of you, being there and suffering, bad weather. And I want you to know that we all appreciate you. I want to go. Do you have Shinegator? Do you have question, my Irish friend?
Thank you. Yes, I do. Thank you for bringing me up, and thanks for the space. To all of you who are doing the Lord's work at this point, trying to expose all the craziness coming through our border. We appreciate you and pray for your safety. Hernando and Jeff, I do follow y'all, so I just followed a whole bunch of others here. So thank you. But my question is, I hear a lot about the journey that these illegal aliens, I'm not going to play the word game with them, but the question I have is, I hear a lot about how they get to Panama or the canal, or how they get through Mexico or wherever they're coming from. What I don't think I've ever really heard much about, and I wonder if any of you have ever asked this or have heard, what are they promised, or what are they told that inspires them to come through this journey? Because that's the part I'm really not understanding. Is there promises they're being sold a bill of goods, while they're in their country? Is their country, or is their government encouraging them to do this? Like, because I know a lot of them they're not sending their best. So that was my question. I just wondered if there was, how does this get kicked off? Thank you so much.
Can I? Oh, go ahead.
I heard when I was down there in Lukeville, a lot of people say they find out on social media because their friends or family are over here already, and they say they're telling how they're like the government's paying them, like they're giving them thousands of dollars, putting them up in hotels, etc. And so they hear about it, like people, especially like people in Africa, the Middle East, etc. And they're like, "Oh, let's go! We're getting in." They're getting in through the cuts in the border wall. We're going to go over here. So they buy plane tickets. I think some of the NGOs are like supplying with money because they get plane tickets from Africa, and they come, and they told me they land in like Nicaragua, I believe, and then they'll travel up north into, and the smuggling organizations are cutting holes in the border wall like daily, like 5 or 6 times a day in like the Lukeville area. And so they find out about it there. And then like I talked to a whole bunch of them. They're like, yeah, we're going to go be with family. We're going to, even some guys were like, we're joining the Marines. I was like, whoa. And they're like, yeah, welcome to Joe Biden's America #1. And so they hear about it. And I think some of them said they want to go to school, but they all know they're getting money, and they give them like addresses and stuff like that, where to go. And so it's very coordinated, and it's worldwide, because I mean, even the smuggling organizations are working all over the world, and they make tons of money off this, like billions. So that's what I've heard, that they're finding out like they can get jobs over here, they can do whatever. I mean, basically anything. One guy was like, I'm going to school when I get to New York. Everybody's going to New York. like told me, just tens of thousands of people. And that's, I think they're
Thank you, Jeff.
doing something.
You wanted to comment on that, I?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, so I've talked to different people, and there's some, a lot of them are getting, so someone from Jamaica, he had to get a ticket to a resort in Mexico, and they usually have to get a round trip ticket because they can't just act like, well, we're coming here and then you're leaving. You're not going to leave, right? So their governments are kind of trying to stop them from coming. So he even said some people will go to the airport with a ticket and they won't be able to go. He said it was very lucky to be able to do that. So many of them, though, they're taking plane tickets into Mexico and then to different places in Mexico on up. But the whole entire way, it's not like they're walking and having some caravan where they're just, traveling on foot. It's that they have transportation the entire way up, even up to the border wall. And then they're told, just go across here. And then you'll see like an NGO or whatever that will be here to help you, or just wait for Border Patrol here. There's been others who, because if you think about it, in China, I mean, but they're being told basically, well, in China, it's like you can't just leave there. So there has to be some kind of way for them to be able to do it, and their government is allowing it. And I think a lot of times with the Chinese, it's like we kind of know why with that, but they're being like promised this like falsehood of an American dream is a lot of the ones that I found, and that's where I'm telling them this, that you've been sold a lie, because they think they'll even complain about how in their country the taxes aren't being spent on what it should be spent on, that it's not going, to the people. And I said, well, that's where we're at here. I said, and you just don't realize it because they sold you a facade. And then when I asked them, what are you going to do if you realize it's the same? And they're talking about, well, I'll just go to another country. So, I mean, there's so many facets to it because there's so many different people coming across that want to work, like these Ghana guys that I met were saying that they wanted to get a job and pay for it. I said, do you understand who's paying for you to be here? And when I told him it was the taxpayers, he said, well, then I want to pay and like get a job and pay back what's been given to me. And I said, well, there's homeless people and all these people that are suffering in the community. He said, I would like to pay into helping them, even though they don't realize that the system isn't set up to make, give the people the help. So it's sad to see that they're being sold this lie and they believe something that isn't true. And then I met this gay community that was out of Colombia, and they were the only ones that I've ever experienced that were terrified. They actually asked me to get them out of there. They were getting ready to be processed by Border Patrol at a certain point. I mean, Border Patrol hadn't come, but they were waiting for them, and they just wanted to figure out a way to get out of there because they were terrified of, retaliation and different things, because they had to leave their country due to, being gay and all of the things that they do to them. I mean, he was talking about being sexually assaulted and beat up. And so, but they were the only ones that I actually saw fear in their eyes, and they were just trying to do everything. I mean, they were even going to walk to the airport, which I'm like, that's over 50, 60 miles away from here. You're not like, so it's sad. It's really sad to see them and how they've been misled into believing that what they're coming to is going to be providing them everything. And that's why you can see now in all these other states where they're starting to make demands. We're demanding this. The shelter isn't good enough. You can't have us move out of this 5-star hotel into a shelter, or the food you're giving us isn't as good, or just whatever it is. They're making all these demands, and it's sad to see that the people in the community aren't doing the same. And so that's where it's going to lead us into, possibly a civil war because of that.
also eyes of the storm, they're also getting all these promises, like you said. They're getting there's a list they're getting. These are the things you're going to receive as soon as you reach ground, as soon as you cross over. So they're getting some of the things, but they're not up to par with what they want. They're actually making these demands as well, is what I've
100%.
read. So yeah.
Yes.
So I just wanted to add that. Go ahead, Miss G.
First of all, I'm not sure. I'm going to check in with y'all to see how much longer you'd like to go. I'd also like to remind everyone that this is something we're going to be doing every Friday. So you'll be getting information. We'll be sharing out. I hope you did follow all the speakers on stage that are covering our border, because this is how we get out the information that they work to provide for us. They put their safety on the line, their time. If you could kick them, $5 or whatever, anything you can afford. We know everyone is struggling. That's something you should do, because they're giving a service to us that, if without their knowledge of what they find out, we would not know. So this is really imperative that we support the people who are actually out there trying to inform us of what's going on in our country, so we can then organize, get the information out, and help save this country. With that being said, I'm in New York City. Everything that you speak of in here, I know firsthand. It's always been a problem here. Now it's out of control. And yes, they do not want the food. And you will see bags of food thrown out at these hotels, 4 and 5 star hotels that normally none of us can afford. And our best hotels they're being put up in, and the ungratefulness. But meanwhile, you have people, and this is what touched me, what I said. You had people that are in fear for their life, in fear for their life. Now, people say I'm a xenophobe. I'm not. But if there's somebody in fear of their life needing to get here, then that's a different story. We do have to, that's an asylum claim, I would think, at least, that you're in fear for your life. So, I know we get pissed off that we're being invaded, but let's, understand that not every single one of these people are crossing our border just to basically take advantage of that we become the welfare country. They're being misinformed. They were basically invited in by this administration, and they're taking advantage of it. Not, I think a lot of Americans would probably do the same. If you could get over, you're going to get over. So I appreciate everything that's being said. We have another hand. Let's see, it's Brandy. I appreciate you coming. If you have anyone you're asking it directly to, please ask them. Otherwise, go ahead with your question. Thank you.
Well, I want to say first, thank you for allowing me to speak. And thank you to the host and co host for facilitating this space tonight, because without y'all, they would not be able to have this platform to speak. Second, I want to say thank you to every one of you journalists in here. It takes you to warn people like us, as far as lay people, and as well as teams like ours. So I work with a group that has a private investigation team, and we work the intel side of what these guys see, and they see it first. So the information they bring, guys and ladies, I want to make sure I say that, is very important. It's very important because it allows us to know what's coming. And yes, directly, we do end up seeing what you see. Not long after you report it at the border, right? We're seeing it on the interior. We see a lot of what Hernando has reported in Texas, because we're in Texas. So we see a lot of it right after he has shown what's there. Um, I wanted to add a little something, and I do have a question as well. My first question was going to be, how can we support you? But G just took care of that. So I wanted to give a little bit of information in case y'all weren't aware of this. So maybe y'all don't know this. Uh, there are groups like on Facebook where Border Patrol is telling them how to get here, what to do. So they're absolutely 100% correct. There's how-tos, there's how-to TikToks. Yes, Hernando. I've seen the group on Facebook. It blows my mind. I can't believe it's still there. Almost 100,000 people in that group, and they're telling them what apps to use, what what steps to take. So yes, that's why we're seeing this major issue. And what is sad is that these guys and ladies in this room right here do all this work. We have an open mic with a little bit of background noise. Um, they do all of this work, and the major issue we have on the interior now, and Hernando can vouch for this being in San Antonio because I see what he sees too in San Antonio as far as you need DAs to prosecute this. So these people are putting their lives on the line, guys, and DAs are not wanting to touch what they're showing us or what is proven to be out there. So I just want to say thank you again so very much. But my question, I have two questions. One, I want to know who, if anyone in here has merch that's one of these journalists, because I'd like to support in that way. I love supporting with merch. I love wearing t-shirts. My thing is to shout you out that way and walk around with your stuff on. So if you have that, please let me know. The other question is this. For those that are on the border, no matter where you are on the border, are you still seeing or have you ever seen wristbands in the area you are on the border? I'm curious if the wristbands are only in Texas or if maybe they're in California, Arizona, other places beside Texas. Thank you so much again for allowing us to have this space and ask questions.
They're definitely in California. You see them they drop them at the Iris Transit Center, where they are bringing them from the Border Patrol Processing Center. So that's where they get them. They get a bag tag at as soon as the Border Patrol picks them up from the border. And then as soon as they get to the processing center, they get a label on that bag tag that has their name and information. And then they also get a wristband. And the wristband has their where they're from and some other information. In fact, when I was taking a picture on my phone, because they have a QR code, it kept coming up on my phone like it wanted to process it. And I don't have the information in there. It wasn't giving me really anything, but they're told to discard them by the NGOs as soon as they get to this bus stop. So they're littered all over that area. So you can go and pick them up. And a lot of the majority of the ones that we've been finding are from China. But you still see them from all over the place. But they actually had to hire more staff at the transit center so that they could clean up the mass amounts of trash that is being left. And why they are told to put these, because the tag looks just like a tag you'd get at the airport, right? But for some reason, they don't want people to know that this is what's going on. I mean, they'll even get ankle monitors sometimes, so you can see them with that in different areas. But yeah, it's a major thing, and it happens through processing. That's where they're getting them. So the ones that aren't processed, I mean, obviously would never have one, but the rest of them do, and that's how you can kind of track who's coming in at a certain time.
Is anyone else seeing them? Thank you so much for
You know
that.
what? We've seen them at all. The ones that I think you're talking about are like also known as cartel bracelets. The ones that the cartels give them. To identify them and who's paid and who hasn't. And those we found those in Yuma and across the Texas border. I haven't personally seen much on the border in California as far as cartel bracelets. I usually find a lot of documentation, IDs, passports, things of that. But on the cartel bracelets, we've seen a lot of those in Yuma, and then of course on the Texas border.
Yeah, I've seen them. I started seeing them about 4 years ago. Texas was the big area that I saw them. I actually have a stack of them like right in front of me. And I was with Ben Berquam doing some stuff for America's Voice News. And he was the first one who showed me like stacks of them everywhere. And some of them will have like dollar amounts, how much they paid on them, like $1,000 or whatever. And then they'll have like children's ones, and so I don't think I saw them in Lukeville, Arizona. But I've been seeing them for the last 4 years, pretty much everywhere I went, but big time in Texas, definitely.
I just want to also add that all eyes are always on the southern border, but we always forget about the northern border, the border between Canada and the United States. There's lots of woods going through there. There's a lot of trafficking, drug trafficking, immigration. It's going both sides. It's not just coming from Canada to the United States. It's actually going back and forth. They're finding all the things that Eyes of the Storm has discussed, all those things. So people have to understand that that's what they want. They want you to zero in one little pocket, but so because you won't look over there. But the northern border is really rapid. The drugs, they're trafficking the drugs. They're trafficking women. They're trafficking children. People are dying because it's so cold, depending on the month. Because of the climate change, you wouldn't believe coming from Canada to the United States how cold it's going through. So this is something I want to just announce, let you guys know. You should look it up. It's out there, and yeah, it's really sad, really really sad, and it's all levels, all levels. Like I said, sex trafficking, child trafficking, trafficking women, human trafficking, the drugs. It's unbelievable, and they're doing it right through the woods, and the woods go far. We're not talking like a park. We're going far and far with mountains, hills, valleys. They're finding people everywhere out, and they've died because they're overdose. I can't even say it. G, overdosed. There we go.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because as we have these people in here discussing our border, one of the things we didn't actually speak about is or ask, have you witnessed anything being transported in? Um, I guess during the act or border control actually catching them in the act of it. Have any of you?
I know that there's been some of that going on. It's still kind of being uncovered, but there's definitely them transporting goods and using the people to do it.
Okay, good to know. Are there any other questions? Because this was supposed to be a 7 to 9 space, and now we're rolling in on 10 p.m. If there isn't anything anyone has to ask, I guess I would like to just ask that each of the guest speakers here tonight close out with something, and just remind you all that we will be doing this every Friday. They'll be bringing you information. Follow them, share out their information, and please support these people any way you can, because they're out there not only doing this for themselves to share, but for us to spread out. So this way, everyone understands what is going on. We could be vocal about it. We could let our Congress people and senators know we're okay with what's going on. So thank you. And if you don't have questions,
Yes.
we're just going to go to the
All right.
speakers and close this out.
Thank you, G, and thank you, Mimi, for being a great host, as well as Solano. Thank you so much for Santino for hosting us. Closing statement. Hashtag no one is coming to save you. That I was using that hashtag for a long time now, and I still continue to use it. No one is coming to save you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. You need to protect your family, your friends, your home, uh, and number two, uh, I don't want to. Part of our job is to educate you guys, like we do. Like we try to do a good job in that, and I get frustrated when I hear that these are refugee asylums. These are not refugee asylums. 99% of them are not. I've read their paperwork on camera. They've been arrested for the most 90% of them have been arrested if they're not using the CBP One app. They've been released on their own reconnaissance with a future court date. It's basically catch and release. And that's what the media keeps telling you, that they are refugee asylum. They're not. That's a lie. And so I, again, just thank you for the panel, for all the other journalists, and catch you on the rebound. Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay.
Hey, Thanks for letting me speak here. I haven't done a space in a while. I've been like working on a ton of stuff, and to fund like future border trips and get tools like infrared drones and stuff like that, and trail cameras. So when you're like not like literally, you can cover a lot more border areas with trail cameras, etc. But if you want, I'm on Facebook also. That's the best paying platform I've found to raise like literally from ads. Like I'm not telling people to give me money. It's like advertising on my Facebook is making a lot of money, and it's making border funding very easy actually. If you follow me on Twitter or X, then it's easy to find where I am. I'm Jeff Rainforth on Facebook. So just thanks again. I will be on the border all over the place and in Georgia for some big events that are coming up. I think President Trump's going to be Trump will be speaking out there for some stuff. So support all our journalists. They're awesome people. I've worked with a lot of them.
Yes, thank you, Jeff. So yeah, reminded, you know what, of course, nobody wants to hear about, give me more or something. But remember that, you know what, few clicks can generate them ad revenue. It doesn't cost you anything, just reposting the videos, they work, commenting when you have time, you do chats. You know what, you will be recognized by commenting as well. You create a little community here too. Don't be afraid and be shy to ask questions. You can hear me, I have a huge heavy accent, and when I get stage fright, I black out words, I forget them. Even I have been here for so long, I'm still like get paralyzed. But don't be shy, we have countries to save. Put pride to the side, and come up, ask questions. They're not stupid, there's no stupid questions. You can ask anything. That's why they're here, and they're willing to take the time to answer them. And please do repost the videos, repost the content. You don't have to, if you don't have money, you don't have to chip in. But if you do share the content, you know what, they can build up some ad revenue, which is going to be great and help them with the future work. So I'll appreciate it. Follow them, follow those great journalists. I really appreciate all of you coming to the space, giving us a chance and supporting all of us and supporting those guys. So, and I want to thank you to all the journalists that we were able to put the space together, and my co-hosts. You guys are wonderful people, and we better kick ass this November, because we can afford 4 more years of Biden and communist regime.
That's
So
right.
with that,
I just wanted to say
and
thank you so much for this space.
you're very welcome. My pleasure.
I want
Lord,
to.
she's thanking us. Thank you. Really. And I'm excited for this every week. I think it's the best thing I've heard. Listen, when it comes to our country and our border, the, I believe in a sovereign nation. It doesn't make me a bad person. Everyone should want that for their country. And right now what's going on is just it's overkill. We it's only hurting us, it's not helping us. So thank everyone here who spoke and gave their time. I really appreciate it. This will be every Friday. If you do come up, please ask a question. It's structured space. These people's time are valuable. So just thank you to everyone who supported. I don't usually co-host. I did this for a reason, and that's because I find this to be imperative to our nation and our upcoming election. And I hope you all enjoyed it.
I just wanted to say I am so honored to be beside two such powerful, strong women, Meme and G, and all these powerful speakers doing such good, and I mean good, and trying to stop what's happening. We are in some heavy, heavy times. We know this. We can't deny it, and it's right in our face. But I believe, I have hope that if we stand together and fight this, we can do it. And this is the time. The clock is ticking. And I know Trump is against everything that they're doing and he wants it stopped. And I that's why I love that man. That's why I love that man, because he stands for the country. He speaks for the people. And I'm just so happy I was here. I hope I'm invited again. I love all the speakers. I mean, the guest speakers, pardon me. You guys are just phenomenal. The hard work you're doing and the information you're giving and helping this tragedy to just finally stop and put an end to it for good. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to any of my journalists if you want to say goodbye. Otherwise, we're going to finish the space. I want
Yeah.
to wish everybody great weekend. I hope the weekend, the days are, every day is so similar. I hope that everybody is going to have wonderful weekend. Whatever you have to do, you're going to enjoy your family or your friends, or kick butt at the border. So
Yeah, I mean,
until
I'll say something real quick. I just wanted to just encourage everybody to, try and get your house in order. I mean, what we're going to be facing, we're not really sure what that is, but I think it's important for us to make sure that we can be as prepared as possible because, I mean, they're accepting everybody under the umbrella of that they are seeking asylum. They don't even ask them. So, what we're going to be facing as the increase continues to come in, and we also have a pandemic preparedness treaty that's coming down the pipe, and they're already setting the stage with the bird flu and many other, invisible killer dots that they want to put out to fearmonger the people. But they could very well lock us down towards the end of this month for another pandemic. And so I just, encourage people to, just get as prepared as you can and hope for the best while preparing for the worst. And just keep sharing and stay strong and just know that we can make a difference. We just have to keep doing what we're doing, and we can't let them make us afraid to do it.
yes, absolutely, absolutely correct. Actually, in New York, they can drag us out of. They don't need to announce anything because we have Kari Kocho made sure that anybody can be dragged out of our homes to some camps if they find us sick for any reason. So you know what, we're losing our sovereignty, every day with this administration. So people be prepared. You know what? Try to unite, put pride to the side, and we're fighting for the same. Okay. So if nobody has anything to say, thank you very much. Have a good evening, guys,
Me,
and God
Jeremiah,
bless you.
stand up. I don't know if he had something he wanted to add before we close out.
I I do, and I don't want to carry too far, but I just want to say, guys, if you can't afford to donate money, please, all these citizen journalists, share their content. I know some of them do get paid via ad revenue. That would help out tremendously. Hernando being one. I don't see this man ever ask for donations. So if you can't support them, at least share their content. That helps out tremendously. I also wanted to state real quick, there's with these border issues and the trafficking, these children, our children, are a main issue we need to focus on. And it's not just the border children, it's our own children within our country. So I wanted to say, well, we have a project called Project Milk Carton here on X, Facebook, and True Social, where we just, we basically just take the kids that are sitting on a website and put them out so that they're not just sitting on a website, they're being noticed. Please like and share and help us support that. And also, Brandy, who come up and spoke a minute ago, she holds a Trafficking Tuesday every week, 7 to 9 Central. Please help support her, and we need to get this word out and save our kids. Much love, respect to you all. You guys be safe out there on the ground.
You too. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
I
Take
hope that
protection.
I will see everybody on next Friday.
Good night, everyone. God bless America.
God bless America, and God bless all of you guys. Keep on fighting.
Amen.